Hello and welcome to our coverage of Love is Blind Season 7. And one of your three hosts this season, I am Aysha Welch. How are you? We from season 2 through season 6, it was me and Mary Kwiatkowski. And no, season 2 through season 5. And then season 6, Mary and Jason covered that season. But for season 7, we are joining forces to cover this hopefully powerhouse of a season. I don't know. I mean, it was a powerhouse of a drop, 6 episodes. That's a lot, but we're going to have a good time with it. And of course, like I just said, with me, one of my two co-hosts, Jason Reed. Jason, how are you?
Aysha, I'm great. Thank you for that summary of the history of the Love is Blind coverage here on RHAP has a podcast. It's good to see you both again. Good to be talking about the show again. To all those out there that are back for our coverage of Love is Blind, I just have to say, just mwah, 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 mwah. So good to see you again. Welcome in. We're gonna have so much fun talking about these interesting, crazy nonsense couples. But yeah, just welcome back.
I was
too much?
not expecting that in the slightest, but thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're so welcome.
That was in the far past. I decided to forget it as soon as it happened each time.
That's the problem with having 6 episode drops. Things that happen in like episode 3, you forget.
Right. Oh my gosh. And of course, here to talk Love is Blind, season 7. And can't wait to hear your thoughts and opinions. Mary Kwiatkowski. Mary, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. You know, Aysha goes on one TV show and then everything falls apart in her absence. So this is the glue that's putting us back together here. Yeah, this is exciting. This is the closest season they've had so far to my living location, which means that this is the season that I did, in fact, send a 15-second video and try out for. And so I was very excited to see, like, oh, what am I missing out on? Who could have been my prospective suitors? And am I happy that I didn't get cast on this season, or am I missing out? And you know what? To be fair, that goes both ways. I welcome anybody who was on the show to watch this video and go, glad she wasn't cast. So, you know.
But seriously, you sent in a videotape, all that good stuff?
You send in a 15-second video, and I was thinking, what on earth can they get from 15 seconds? And then I remembered what you look like, and that's basically it. What you look like, what you sound like.
Gosh. That's interesting, because I just kind of assumed at this point they just plucked people from Instagram, or just like we just picked out Instagram people were like, you're on the show, you're on the show, you're on the show. I didn't even know they had a real like process anymore. Interesting. I mean, listen, speaking of applying for TV shows and getting on them, possibly. Should we address the elephant in the room? I mean, this is the first time we can really talk about it.
For those who are unaware, I like that's why I didn't cover season 6, because I was away having a great time in Fiji, and and I'm back.
Okay,
that's all we can say on
that's all we can legally say about it. I'm away from the podcast. Glad we got that covered. Okay. I'm sick. Let me just say this about season 7, about the recent seasons. I'm so sick of these 6 episode drops. I can't stand it.
Why?
Because it's so much, and these are all like a little over an hour. They didn't even give us like the 40-minute to 50-minute episodes. They were all over an hour. That's just a lot to cover. I mean, listen, especially for podcasters doing our podcast thing, it's a lot to cover and condense into one podcast episode.
Look, that's why I was really hoping for that too. I was like, 6 episodes, not that going to be that bad. There may be one that's 39 minutes. There may be one that's 52. We may get one over an hour, but it'll be okay. It's not going to take 6 hours to watch 6 episodes. And boy, did it.
It did. Or it takes 3 if you watch them on 2 times speed like I did. So I said, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to absorb it all. It's just going to go straight into my brain. This is going to This is gonna be how it works.
The
Yeah, it was
best I could
long.
do was 1.5.
Oh, really? Yeah, I've trained my ear. Listen to a lot of podcasts, so do
See,
it.
podcasts, yes, because it's like podcasters, like you can listen to us right now at 2 times speed, but it's like if when you're in this setting, they're not talking to each other in like an intentional way. You're just
No,
oh blah, 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 blah.
There's also a visual component, like
right.
it's more than just listening. It's ingesting like what they're doing, as well as it's training multiple parts of your mind to take in all that information and all that feedback, all that footage. It's so I
I'm
don't think I
sorry
could do
you're
it.
not on my level, but
Listen, I just started going to 1.75 podcast speed, so I'm still behind the times.
yeah, but it was long. Luckily, I think the next drop will have fewer episodes. I don't understand why they do that. And really, when you really get down to it, based on how they broke down these 6 episodes, there was no reason why there couldn't have just been 5. If we're gonna do 5 episodes in the pods, just show us 5 then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let the
first drop.
cliffhanger be when they leave to go to Mexico.
We have had seasons in the past where there's only been like 2 or 2 to 3, 2.5 episodes in the pods. So
Yeah.
they really decided to lay heavily on that part of the show.
Yeah. Well, if you're here for the first time and you've never listened to our coverage, or maybe you're here and you haven't even watched Love is Blind, we would highly suggest you go watch Love is Blind, because you may be quite lost in this one podcast recap of 6 episodes. So we are here to cover Love is Blind. Love is Blind is just an experiment where they test if you can fall in love and get engaged without seeing the other person. So they experience this time in the pods, which is about a week or so. They propose without ever seeing each other. They meet. They're whisked away on a vacation, and then it's the countdown to the wedding. And so, really, the season always ends with: are they going to get married, or are they not going to get married? You can go subscribe to the Love at First Sight feed, where you can get all of our coverage and our previous coverage of Love is Blind. So make sure you go subscribe to the Love at First Sight feed wherever you get your podcast. And I believe you can find us at WeKnowRealityTV.com, since we are under the umbrella of RHAP Has a Podcast. So let's dive in, because we have a lot of people to discuss. But I do want to know, we talked about the 6 episodes, just that fact, but did y'all enjoy it?
Ooh, that's a complicated question.
Yeah.
The pause.
I think of the like 6 couples that we kind of end up with. I mean 5 plus 1, if you want to say. I felt like we really only get our juicy, meaty drama in 2 of the couples.
Yeah,
that formed kind of a triangle-y, almost a square type of deal, and then all the other couples are just kind of at this moment in time after 6 episodes. I'm like, where are we going with this? What are we doing? They don't seem to bring any drama. Listen, if you listen to our coverage before, you know what I'm here for. You know what I'm after. I'm after the mess, and we don't have mess in most of these couples, and one of the messes leaves in an unprecedented. Love is Blind first just kind of takes himself out of things by the end of the pod phase, and now I'm only left with 1 mess couple and like 4 Johnny and Amy's. Like, if you remember Johnny and Amy from I think it was last season. If you remember Johnny and Amy from last season, they were our blah nothing couple. I feel like I have 4 other blah nothing couples. I feel like I have 4 other Johnny and Amy's.
well, I guess if you look at it from a different lens, I was very excited that I was like,
I'm here for mess.
There's 4 out of 6 couples that I'm so excited about, like that they could actually end up together.
That's true, but like never before, I look at a lot of these couples, I'm like, I could see you actually working. I could see this actually leading to a marriage that would actually work. That would
and you see that as a boring blah couple.
But no, here's the thing though: you can be a successful couple destined for marriage, and you can still give me mess. Give me both. Like, I want mess and I want love. I don't want just love that is you staring at each other. A couple of these couples, all their segments is just staring into each other's eyes. I'm like, I love you so much. I've never loved anyone as much as I love you. Aren't you great? Aren't we great? That's boring. You guys weren't bored with that, even a little bit with a couple of these couples?
Okay. So Jason is here for the drama. We all know that.
Yes.
Right. I'm a little closer to Asia, and then I'm here for the love and the success of the couples, which I'm sure you know if you've been listening to the podcast for the 7 or 6 seasons we've covered. More than that, actually, because we just covered the UK season. If you haven't checked that out, make sure you do that. That was very fun. I think here's the problem. I did a tiny bit of research and found out that there is some drama with some of the people that I initially was like a little higher on. So we'll get into that as we talk about the people. But overall, I'd say, yeah, unfortunately, the show seems to be split into high drama couples that are not going to make it, and there's not many of those left, and then couples that seem pretty steady. Here's where I'll disagree, Jason. I think that some of the couples that seem a little bland right now, I see them imploding once they get back home. So I think that there will be some drama coming up.
Yeah, but to give me whole six episode drop,
without it,
how like half your season without it is a little suspect.
Are you not patient?
No, not really. To be honest, I'm just not that person. But and then to talk about a little about the pod phase, a specific pod phase, I felt like we spent so much time on this square we had, and a lot of the segments in the square were just kind of repetitive. So I wish we could have spread out the love a little more. I'm sure something else had to happen with any of these other couples that they could show us. I felt like we spent so much time on Hannah, Nick, Leo, and Brittany that they kind of monopolized the pod time for me.
They really, yeah. That's why when we get the moment that, like we said, this is full spoilers. So if you haven't watched, but the moment we get when Leah and Brittany leave, it's like, wait, you're telling me we spent that much screen time on them and this is it?
Like, it almost felt like, so I mean, to kind of fast forward on what happens with Leah and Brittany, they work out, and then we get the message on. Okay. You get the message. Oh.
I think that this is not exactly what was shown, because we are shown an entire relationship with a couple, including a proposal and a reveal, and then we get a card that says, and I wrote it down, it says,
and this is
Brittany and Leo were not one of the 6 couples chosen by producers to continue their journey to Mexico. They took their own trip to Miami and broke off their engagement weeks later. Here's what I read into that.
That's a lie.
here's what I read into that. What I read is that the people on the show are told we are going to send a certain number to Mexico. If more than this number get engaged, the rest of you, we might take to Miami or whatever, but you will not be televised and you're not continue with the experiment. I think that's always the case. The only reason we're told it explicitly this time is because they had to show Brittany and Leo on the show. Normally they would just edit these couples completely out and we wouldn't even see them. We had to see them so that we could get the understanding of what happens with Nick and Hannah and all that and the whole love triangle. And they wanted to show them, but they probably also knew by the way that their reveal went, where like this couple's not going to last, that they didn't want to have them continue in the experiment as well.
Oh, no. I disagree wholeheartedly with that. Here's what I think happened. because
you said, earlier you said they chose not to go.
Well, okay. So when Brittany and Leo meet, she says, "Can we go to Miami instead of Mexico?" He's like, "Sure, we can go wherever you want." She says this in the reveal when they're like awkwardly hugging and stuff. And so in my mind, they're like, "We're not going." They tell the producers, "We're not going to Mexico."
I don't think so. The way I read that so differently. I read it as she said, "Can we go to Miami if we don't go to Mexico?"
Yes, that's how I also read it.
She didn't say, "Oh, if we choose not to go." She said, "If we don't go to Mexico, can we still go to Miami?"
I think there's no way on earth the producers would not want them to go to Mexico.
I think
with the drama that could bring.
But you have to look at the last few seasons. The last few seasons have had a dramatic decrease in success rates. at the end, of even having a number of couples even get to the altar. And I think that they need a couple successes. And so if they're looking and going, they are not going to be success. But I also think, I think, Jason, I could believe your side too. I could believe that Brittany didn't want to go to Mexico or whatever. I believe that is possible. My only point was that I think the only reason we see any of this is because they had to keep them in the show. I think if this had all, no matter what reason that they
There was
end
no
up in
cross,
Miami,
yeah.
whether or not the producer sent them to Miami or they sent themselves there, I think we normally, if a couple had done that, wouldn't have seen them at all. And we, because in the past, it's not like in the past we get a little like card at the end. I wish we had, where it'd be like, also so and so and so and so got together, but then they chose to break it off. Like, we find those things out after the fact, but I wish we saw more of that on the show.
Yeah, I just don't think that if we get the story with Leo and Brittany crossed with Hannah and Nick, there's no way the producers don't want to bring Leo and Brittany to Mexico to see what that meeting would be like, to give us that moment where Leo sees Hannah and probably says something way stupid and out of pocket, like that would have happened. And I just don't think I don't think the producers cared that much about the success rate. They're here to try and show us some entertaining TV. I think that's what they would have.
I think they need to have at least one successful couple, though.
I think they'll get that with the first couple that we're about to talk about. But I do think that Brittany was given off, I don't like this man. Yeah. So it's like, it's not like, oh, well, come on to Mexico. It's very much so, I was feeling uncomfortable. This is weird. I can't, that's a stranger. She's forgetting completely about any of their time in the pod. She just thinks a stranger walked up to her and proposed. And I think it was more so, oh, this isn't a couple.
Yeah. I could meet you guys in the middle and say,
thank you.
That Brittany went to production and was like, I am not comfortable with this man. I don't want to go to Mexico with him. I want to go to the losers trip to Miami and break it off with him there. I don't want to break it off with him in Mexico. I want to break it off with him in Miami where cameras aren't around. They were like, all right, fine. We'll send y'all to Miami to the losers trip.
Because it would have been a waste of money. Who was that couple? There was that one couple that got in Chicago, season 2 with the.
It's happened a couple times at this point.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, true. I'm specifically thinking of the guy that was with Deep D.
Shake?
After.
Oh, after. Kyle and
Shayna. Yes. That's what I'm thinking of. Like, that's what would have happened with Brittany and
but I don't think that's the worst thing to happen in producers' minds. I don't think they mind. I don't think they mind when that happens. I don't think they care. They're like, that's more drama for us. We love it. Like, bring it on. But I will, like, I think there's a world where Brittany says, listen, let me just go to Miami and break it off with them there. I don't want to do it in Mexico. And they were just like, fine.
Yeah, I think
they probably wanted the drama.
Seemed so uncomfortable that I don't think she was like some of the other people who are like, oh, I know I don't like them, but I'm happy to continue with the experiment and like be on the show and get my screen time or whatever. She was like, ooh, I don't think I want to share a hotel room with this person, is what it felt more like.
She said that's a stranger.
Yeah.
So the first couple, let's get them out of the way because they're so, what did you call them, Jason? Boring.
Wow.
I don't think they're boring. I really think that this is a great match. So Garrett and Taylor.
They're a great match and they are boring. They can be both. They are both.
It's called balance.
It's not balanced. You can have love and drama and balance the two. This is just love. There's no drama.
If we had 6 Nick and Hannahs, I would be exhausted from watching that.
I agree there should be balance.
Yeah, there we go.
There's too much of one
I think
side
we just agreed.
The other.
I think we just agreed. I don't know. So Garrett, he's 33. He's a quantum physicist. And then let's see. How old is she?
I have her as 29. Policy
yeah.
advocate.
So everyone on this show is the youngest person is Hannah,
26,
and she's 26, and everyone else is 28 or older, I think,
which is amazing.
Yeah, it's great. So Taylor and Garrett, they have a pretty quick connection. They're the first people that I note are very direct, and this is like a pattern that follows through the entire cast of even with the people where there's drama, like he tells her pretty quickly, like, you seem kind of cagey with some of your answers and you seem calculating and it makes me wonder if you're hiding something, etc. And just the way that he was like very direct, and then the way that she very directly was like, oh, that's very good feedback, basically, like, let me explain. And a lot of the other couples do that. It feels like so far this season there's a lot less like people leaving and being like, I don't really know what they mean by this or what they, say by that. Even with our drama couples, they're very like, they seem to be very direct with like speaking their mind, which I think is very interesting. But yeah, she is someone who really, really, really firmly wants to not give any hints about what she looks like. And that's like a really big thing for her.
Which I was glad about.
Yes.
Too much of this, you look like, I look like somebody, like, that should not, Love is Blind, guys.
Yeah, really defeats
Stop
purpose.
giving away, oh yeah, I'm this tall, or I'm this, even I'm this position in basketball. That's giving away too much. I feel like
although clearly a lot of people do not know what a kicker is in football based on their
Well,
reactions.
yeah, Hannah definitely doesn't know about punters and kickers in the NFL. She don't know the physical attributes of punters and kickers.
So yeah. The one thing that I think is funny is that Garrett, you ever see those videos where it's like a guy in a gym and he walks around and asks people how tall they are, and the guys will give a height and then he like holds up a measuring tape? Yeah. Garrett and I think several other guys on this season would have failed that test because he claims to be 6 feet. She comes out and she's like, how tall did you say you are? And he's like, 6 feet. He's like, we can measure. I'm like, that man is not 6 feet. But I just never understand why people lie about this. Like, they're gonna find out. Like, what people think that they don't know heights. Come on.
Yeah, Jason, do you add any inches to your height, or do you say what it is?
I was gonna say something very terrible, but I decided not to. No, I have no reason to do that anymore. I have spoken for. I've been spoken for a long time, so I got no reason to lie about my height. I am a strong 5'10", and I have no problem with it.
See, I think when guys say they're 5'10", they are 5'10". I think when guys try to say that they are 5'9", no guy is 5'9". Some may be, but I think
no guy anywhere is 5'9".
I've met a lot of people who claim to be 5'8" or 9" who are definitely 5'6" or 7. And then I think the thing is, the classic thing is that guys will say, well, we have to say we're a taller height because you won't even meet us if we say we're lower than them. For me, I do not care what height you are unless you're lying. If you're lying very obviously and I meet you and I am 5'4", and if I can look you directly in the eye when I meet you, you are not 5'10", 5'11", 6. You're just not.
Mary's got that tape measure on her belt. Like, all right, let's check it.
No, I'm short. If you're 5'7" or 5'8", great. You got several inches on me. That's awesome. Why are you lying and saying you're a different height? I just don't understand. This is not a hot take. I just don't get it. Just don't get the lies.
I will say at the retreat when they clocked Garrett as a what they called him a lower class Chris Evans, I was like, got him. They really got him. They really did.
Garrett seems nice.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know much about him. Like, most of their conversations are about her. So
they're both. Yeah, I feel like his nerds. He's a physicist. Yeah, I think like he has like a formula tattooed on him.
Yeah.
But I will say, I guess back to the point of her not trying to give away like her ethnicity, I liked how he approached it because she kind of was about to cave. She was about to go ahead and tell him. She's like, okay, fine. And he's like, no, don't say it. And they stuck to that all the way into the reveal. So I was like, okay, I like that, especially with him knowing. And even just be like you said, just being very direct. I've only dated white girls. I thought that was like and he's like, it hadn't even crossed his mind that, oh, I could potentially, the person on the other side of this wall could be potentially a different ethnicity. And so it kind of opened his eyes to, wow, like this is going to be a real reality where this may be the first time I date someone of her ethnicity. And so I really liked their communication. I was just like, every time they talked.
They're both very reasoned, mature adults. Get them off my screen. Get them out of here.
Jason's like, tomato, tomato.
Tomato. Get them out of here. But like, okay, we do need one reasonable couple, and then they gave me 4 more. I was like, okay, no, give me some messes, give me some train wrecks, please.
Look, this couple is fine.
I'll
it's
argue
not the reasonable
only 3
couple.
more.
Yes.
I will argue only 3 more because I have a strong argument for someone. One other couple.
I might even argue only 2 more, but we'll see.
Ooh.
It's fine.
What do we think about the reveal? I want to rate the reveals for each of these people, and I'll call it a chemistry scale. I won't even call it an awkward scale. I'll give it a chemistry scale from a 1 to 10. What's the chemistry of each of these reveals?
At the reveal, I mean, I'd say like a 5. Like this one was a little awkward. I mean, it was mostly because they sat down and she made a comment where she was very clearly like, "You're not the height you said you were. Why'd you lie?" Like that's
the main. I just thought that was like their comfort level being able to call it out, because it wasn't like that was a deal breaker for her.
That's a new way of thinking about it. Yeah.
I'm gonna say
That's another way to say you're wrong, Aysha.
That's a new way. I'm gonna go a strong 8. They could not stop kissing. They could have stopped kissing each other.
I'm gonna meet you in the middle. I'm gonna say 6. If I'm great, but if I was grading on a curve, I'd say like a 9, because a lot of these meetups were terrible. These are some of the worst meetups we've ever had in Love's Blind history. I swear to God, like terrible. But I'm gonna give it an official 6 for these two, because it was like 2 nerds finally meeting up after they talked on like AIM for like back in the day. They talked on AOL Messenger for like 4 months. They finally met up at the mall,
and it was everything they imagined it to be.
Yeah, this is the Big Bang Theory couple. I'm gonna give them that nickname.
Oh, another thing I will say about, because I feel like we like a lot of times on this show it's always like, well, it's not always this way, but a lot of times the women, for the most part, seem the most ready for marriage if you look at the couples itself.
How many more qualifiers are you going to give it, Aysha?
Because I don't want it to seem like I'm just like hating on the men. But I will give Garrett props here, because he was the one who he went on a date with Brittany and was like, no, there was nothing there for me. He was just a man who knew exactly what he wanted. And it was like there was a sparkle in his eye when he met Taylor. So I really appreciated that. Like, I know exactly what I'm looking for. I'm not just here to entertain conversation. I'm not just here to go to Mexico, have a good time. I'm looking for my wife. So I was like, props to you, Garrett. Yeah.
So, and they also went on the getaway. The end.
I'm sorry. I do have 0 notes on them.
It's okay. He said that she reminds him of Shrek 2 for some reason. She watched Shrek on the plane.
I don't know if you said this. She reminds him of Shrek 2.
Yes, she reminds him of Shrek 2. Looking for love. Yeah,
I understand that. I'm not a big Shrek 2 person, but
no, but I do feel like that was actually like a really cute answer if you like have seen Shrek 2, and the way he described it of like the reasoning behind it and like the story, I thought was actually really good.
I think in any situation, quoting Shrek is a problem when you're talking about anyone, really.
You know what? They're millennials. They're gonna quote Shrek. It's fine.
And she watched it on the plane. Yeah, she gets it now.
That was cute.
Yeah, I was like, I love the homework follow through.
Yeah, I mean, just on the getaway though, it wasn't all like lovey-dovey fluffy like some of our other couples. It was kind of like we got a lot of stuff to figure out when we get back home. But for now, let's enjoy this. I was like, all right, cool. I like that kind of thought and that kind of reasoning with yourself to say, let's not get caught up in the tropics of the wonderfulness of our love right now. We know we got some stuff to figure out when we get home. So I'm curious to see how that will work out for them. I feel like we're setting a lot of these couples up for failure in the back half of the season with how much they were showcasing the I love you so much. Nothing can go. There was like a lot of foreshadowing. Nothing could go wrong here, right? This is perfect. Like I think even Ashley is like, I know no matter what, we're getting married. It's like, bet.
We're getting married if it's the last thing we do.
Yeah.
I will say what got me in the next time on was So we did see Taylor crying because Garrett's ex-girlfriend had reached out to him and he responded.
Yeah.
So I'm
And
sure
he's like,
there's way
"Whatever."
more than what we saw in that 2 seconds, but that'll
Yeah.
be interesting because it seems like that's going to be their
Their hurdle.
yes.
Yeah, but
hurdle.
at least one of these next time on things will be like someone's crying, but it turns out they were crying because they watched Shrek 2 and it was so beautiful or something.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I think that's Ashley and Tyler's next time on. We'll get to it when we get to it. But like it was weirdly chopped up, and I was like, okay, well, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's something
You're
they're actually hinting at.
okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about Ashley and Tyler.
So yeah, this is the one that I think this is the one like I'm rooting for. This is my main couple that I think is the one that's really set for the best so far, at least.
I love them.
Yeah,
I think they are well. So like in contrast with Garrett and Taylor, great match, right? Now that they're together, but they're not two people you would have thought like in a crowd. Oh, them together. Even that, like even Garrett had said he probably wouldn't have approached Taylor at a bar, which I don't know how to take that. Like if she were to, I know he means it well.
Did he mean like she's out of my league or like what? Yeah, what did he mean?
Hopefully that. With Tyler and Ashley A, which was so funny. Ashley A, Nick D, you're having to do the last initial for someone else that we're not even seeing.
Not even seeing ever again.
We barely saw Ashley W. There was a Nick something else. And I'm like, now we have to have these last name initials when it doesn't matter. So Tyler and Ashley, they are so gorgeous together. Mm-hmm. And they look like they would have they would have seen each other out somewhere and been like, you. Like, yeah, we're meant to be together.
They really look like they fit together.
Yes.
And even when they got together, it was like, you guys have seemed like you have been together for like 10 years. Like, it's not.
Yes.
Like, so yeah, this is one of the couples that are just like, I feel like there's not much that's going to go wrong, but this is the couple that they keep saying, oh, this is great, right? This is fantastic. Nothing's going to go wrong here. This is going to be great. So, I mean, it makes me think something's going to go terribly wrong. He does mention after they get on the getaway, he's like, I was a really bad person. There are going to be a lot of people that tell you I'm a terrible person, right? But that's all of us, right? And she's like, no, like no one's gonna say that about me. So I don't know what you're sipping on, but that's not me. So as we kind of alluded to in the next time on, there's like, I'm not gonna get married to some man that has weird chopped in audio babies, like trying to make us think that maybe this man is fathered a child and he didn't tell her.
Like, that has chinchilla babies.
His baby, who is his puppy that he loves.
Right.
The weird.
Yeah, I definitely call my Spice Girls my babies. So.
Well, we know. Waiting for that family visit. Just waiting. But let's go back to the pods. Was there anything in the pods that stood out to you guys?
So this was one it was so minor, but it was something that was like they fit so well. From when he was like, look, I do a bunch of stuff. Like, I'm really good at a lot of stuff. I ride horses professionally. She's like, oh, did you do English or Western? And he's like, oh, of course, English. I did Western. I was like, I have no idea what they're talking about, but how are they just so in sync? Like, is that a common thing up there, Mary? Like,
I didn't know at first because I'm again watching it on 2x speed, and he's like, "Oh, I did Western." I'm like, "What are they talking about? West Coast swing versus East Coast swing? Like, what are we talking about?" I missed the fact that it was horse dancing.
Mary's in Richmond. I'm in Baltimore. I'm much closer.
Jason is much closer.
So much closer.
Yeah, look, I know, but I'm guessing. Here's the thing: I'm guessing among horse people, it's a thing,
But that's just wild. They have that in common.
Well, okay, but it'd be the same as if I was like, oh, I run. Oh, do you do long distance or short distance? Like that would be. It's the same thing.
But that's what I'm saying. That's a little bit more common. Running versus.
Well, that's a unique hobby you have, Mary. That's the same thing. Like you're.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't think it's that weird. Just because they happen to find out. We saw the clip of them finding a hobby. Maybe they were like, oh, I do this. I do that. Oh, I don't do those. But then they found the one hobby that they had in common, which is weird that it happened to be horseback riding. But
yeah, I mean, it's just a super niche and unique hobby to have. It's almost like I record on a Yeti mic. What mic do you record on?
I used to record on a Yeti mic.
gosh. Was it a
Wow.
Yeti snowball?
Blue or regular?
Silver. So I'm trying to think what else from the pods. It just felt like he was so comfortable opening up to her. And you could tell it's not like, okay, this is somebody else that reminds me, which is just kind of a little bit foreshadowing into my thoughts. But I felt like, what is his name? With, oh my gosh, it's blank. I'm blanking. What is his name? What is his name?
Tell us what you're thinking.
With Alex. Alex's guy. Well, my notes are failing me. Where is he?
Alex, guy.
Tim?
Oh,
Tim. Yes.
I'm thinking Alex is a guy. I was like, who is Alex?
Tim. Okay. If I compare the way that they opened up, because they were both open in the pods, right? I feel like Tyler is the type of guy who is not typically open, and he felt safe with Ashley. That's why he was saying, like, he was like, that's the one word I can think of with her is safe, because I feel safe to open up. He felt vulnerable enough to cry, where I feel like Tim is one of those guys that he's opening up every first date. Like, he strikes me as that's his go-to. Hey,
hi, my name is Tim. Have you heard about my sisters?
I want the, this for an appetizer, and let me go ahead and let you know everything. It didn't seem like Alex gave that much in order for him to give that.
Yeah, I can see that. How much do we think that we're going to see them go skydiving the day before the wedding? Since she
That
said
would
that's
be
what she
fun.
wants.
That would be so cool. Yeah.
Would that be enough excitement for you, Jason?
I guess.
But actually, here's the thing. If they don't go skydiving, I'll be upset, because why include that?
Yeah.
Specifically, yeah.
Yeah. I liked, besides him saying that he felt really safe and protected, there was actually something else I liked that he was saying to all the guys when Leo was talking about, I don't remember, I might be misremembering this, but there was a time when I think Leo was talking about deciding between Hannah and Brittany, like he did for apparently 10 days straight. And then Tyler says, like, we can all go home and find someone like our ex. That's not why we're here, like, to do that. And I don't know, I liked that he was thinking that way. He was really getting into the, like, I'm trying to look for something better that I don't normally go for.
Well, I mean, listen, that's the axiom on Married at First Sight. What you tried before isn't working, so you might as well try something different.
Right, might as well. You're single now, right? That's what the experts say. Yeah, I just love these two together. I just feel like, yeah, there just has to be some huge unknown that would come to, like, break them up. But or not break them up, but allow them to not make it down the aisle and, like, say I do.
It's all his babies.
Yeah, whatever kind of babies these are. It could even be his shoes. He calls his shoes his babies. But the reveal. Oh no, one more thing from the pods that I thought was really cute. Like, he wrote a prayer for them to say before they ate. It was just like, he was just intentional on every level. They were great. What'd you think about their reveal? 1 to 10.
I would give it a 9. It was really, really good. It was like a really great reveal. They obviously both liked what they saw. They ran to each other, had no problem kissing, sat down, talked as if they were, I mean, they had been talking for, a bunch of days straight, but I mean, it wasn't really, you couldn't tell it was the first time they'd ever seen each other. It was that, like, that's seamless, really.
It was very familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I liked that. I'd give it a 9 as well. I like the ones where it feels very natural. I don't know what I'm saving my 10 for.
Right? That's what I was like, if this is not a 10, I don't know what is. I just felt like it was so perfect.
I think there's one more that I might give a 10. But
that's an off-season podcast, is re-examining all the reveals and
just replay them, like play every reveal on the pod. Live reactions. Did you see that the way she winced? So one big thing I will say across all of the reveals this season was they all were commenting on smells. I was like, I feel like
Mm.
we hadn't heard that much about smells in previous seasons, but they all were pleasantly
Well,
like they
they
loved
were
the
doing a
smells.
lot of like writing each other's letters and and spraying perfume on it, or giving each other blanket that smelled like them, or shirt that
Yeah.
smelled like. There was a lot of the scent stuff, which I actually think is very important. So that was good.
It is. So yeah, I'm a 10 out of 10 for their reveal. They did go to Mexico. They had the sex talk where it was kind of like they hadn't talked about it, but then they kind of were like kind of talking about it, where it was like she said she was more like she was more leaning towards like celibacy, but it was like she just wanted to be intentional with the next person, and
Yeah.
same for him.
Yeah, and they of course they have to agree on everything. Oh yeah, me too. Same here.
On the same page.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we get the kind of confirmation that they were what they almost everyone has done it on this on the getaway, and they are another one of those couples. They obviously felt comfortable and safe enough to do that.
It was
Safe was a big word that he kept using all the time. I feel so safe with you. I can be so vulnerable with you. I feel so
listen,
safe.
I feel safe on this podcast
You shouldn't.
I
with you
don't.
too. Oh my god. See, we're just we're on two different pages with this show.
I'm on my guard all the time. I never feel safe.
I gotta watch my words constantly around Jason, because anything I say, he's gonna be like, "No, you're wrong, and here's why you're wrong." Jason,
He's like, actually, I disagree with every word that just came out of your
everything you
mouth.
I disagree with you as a being, you as a person.
Yep.
But yeah, they did. So I guess on your point, Jason, about everybody like having sex on this in Mexico, it was everybody except Garrett and Taylor, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Everyone, we get the kind of the confirmation at the group party that pretty much everyone's done it except for Garrett and Taylor.
So do you think that will be a thing with Garrett and Taylor? Like, oh, when are we like? Is that going to?
No, I think that really fits them, right? Because they're
Mhm.
very measured. They're very like planning. They're very like, we don't want to go. They seem like a very cautious couple. Like we don't want to go too fast. So I think that really fits them well. I think they will. My guess is that it will happen not too far after they get back from Mexico. I think they're just kind of treading treading lightly.
Jason's got a calendar. He's gonna check it off.
Yeah,
What he thinks has happened.
Yeah. I got inside info. Don't worry about it.
Okay. So our next couple, we got Monica and Steven. These two we didn't hear much about in like the first episode at all.
Yeah.
And then they kind of introduced them slowly towards the second, and or maybe at the end of the second, maybe. Which made me concerned that they weren't going to be like a strong couple. But he was another one who was very open. And
Very.
yeah. And so I feel like we learned so much about him, which is very interesting with how we see things transpire in Mexico, because I hadn't thought about it in that way. Where she, like in Mexico, she calls out, "Oh my gosh, you won't let me talk." Because do y'all feel like we know as much about her as we know about him?
I feel like I know next to nothing about Monica. And
I feel like I learned a lot about Monica in Mexico, actually. So.
Well, at the very
In
last
Mexico.
little bit of the episode, but really I don't know about much about her as a person, except for she doesn't like chatty people. Like that's what I learned at the end of the episodes. But I don't know much about her. I don't know that much more about him, except that he's like 0.3%.
0.3% broadly European.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his dad is maybe 3/5 black.
At one point she said he's 3/4 black. I was like, I think you messed up that conversion of that percentage. Right. I don't think you think that is what it is.
Yeah, that goes from what, 60% to 75%. Yeah.
I mean, he's 0.3%. Like, that's
well,
like
no, he's 0.3% broadly European.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because he was trying to say, like, this whole time he thought he was Italian, like his dad was Italian, and then he found out, like, oh no, on only 3 years ago. He's what, 30 something?
36.
That's wild.
It is.
3 years ago. There he is, 34. So what I guess what do y'all think that these two are a good match?
Well, from the way that she talks, she certainly thinks they are, especially after she met him. But even before, she's just like, he's the best person ever. He's amazing. He's great. There were probably partially due to the fact that this season was shot in DC. We had a lot more political talk among in the pods than I feel like we normally see. And basically, with them and with a couple other couples, it was like there was no we didn't see any like political disagreements. Everything was like, oh, thank you so much for opening up about that. Yes, we're exactly on the same page. So there was that.
Yeah, I like the kind of open discussion about Stephen, for specifically having an open discussion about like how he voted and why he voted the way he voted in each election. That was an interesting wrinkle that we've never seen before in Love Is Blind. Yeah, like you said, Mary, because it's in Washington D.C. I guess they feel like they have to hone in on that a little bit. So I really enjoyed that conversation between them. But other than that, and that's a problem I have with Love Is Blind as a whole, is that these people will be like, I love this person so much. He makes me feel so safe. He makes me feel this and that. I was like, I don't really understand why. Like, I don't understand why you say that about this person. Like, I can see for like Ashley and Tyler, they had a lot of like conversations about who they were, about their faith, about what they feel like, how they are. I didn't really get that from Monica and Steven. I didn't really get like a whole lot of deep convo with them at all. I love Steven. Steven is hilarious. Like some of the little offhanded comments and jokes he would make, I found really funny, especially like at the getaway. I found really funny. So I like him as a person.
So you would be his friend.
Yeah, I mean, we both make inappropriate off-color jokes. I think that would be really fun. But yeah, I think they're cool. I just don't know if I see it as a couple.
Yeah, I could see it working. I could see it working. I don't know, in this environment but okay. This is why I'm torn. I was really high on them. Really high on them coming out of the pods. I was like, okay, even though this is just what we saw, obviously we're missing hours and hours of conversation. So they're obviously to the point where they feel like, okay, this is a person that I can be married to. Like Monica doesn't strike, like Monica is 36. Like she doesn't strike me as somebody who's just like frivolously deciding to get married. So I'm like, there's something about Steven that she is in love with, that it like, she adores this man. She has gotten to know him to a level where she feels like she can spend the rest of her life with him. And then it's like, they get engaged, and then for the conversation in Mexico, because even before the group outing, we barely saw anything, right? We only saw her say like, I'm not used to guys like him. I'm used to guys who maybe went to college, but he went to a university, but he went to a 2-year college. He's an electrician. So this is outside of my norm. And
that worries me why that she said it that much. She kept saying like, I usually go for guys with nice jobs, with education, with a lot of money, but I really like him. It just makes me fearful that she'll at one point decide that he's not enough for her in that way and dump him for that reason. So that makes me
or that it's going to be like a conversation when they get back home, but it's kind of like it's their red herring plot, and then they're fine,
Yeah. I was really concerned with this. Like, I don't even know if it was even just like had this happened before, when she said like, I can't get a word in. She's like, it's funny, but it's like kind of not funny.
No. And then she goes, because I think at one point in the pod, she goes, I love how chatty he is.
Yeah.
And now outside the pod, it's like, you keep talking, I can't get a word in. And then he stops talking and she doesn't say anything. I'm like, what?
She just wants to hear herself think, Jason. Sometimes people just talk too much. We don't know. We're podcasters.
Are you subtweeting me in the podcast right now? Is that what's happening here?
You see a tweet go out right now. Some people just don't know when to stop talking.
Especially on podcasts.
Are we going to just not talk about the fact that when they go to Mexico, she has like a 10-minute segment of talking very loudly about boners in front of a massage technician for why are we doing this? I mean, you're already on TV doing this. I just felt so bad for that poor man.
No man wants to have their boner compared to a small needle You're like, no one wants that. Like, I don't know
You
why
know
you would
what
say
that
that.
acupuncture needle in your head reminds me of? Other things that are getting hard between us. What? What are we talking about? Why are we saying this in broad daylight? Have this conversation in the bed.
I
Ugh.
I feel like he was like rubbing off on her because that sounds like a joke he would make, and it was like it's his humor just coming out of her. I think by the end of it, where we get to that chatty segment, it almost feels like they switched her character, and they're just like, Monica is now really bougie. She's really high maintenance. She's really like picky about things. I felt like they just kind of switched her character a little bit. It was a weird turn for me to all of
And
a
it
sudden
also
be like
was
that.
it was the night, wasn't it the night of the night out? Like
Yeah.
people are, a
Yeah,
little bit more irritable, a
they're
little bit
drunk.
more yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. If you're
they're drunk.
drunk, you may be more chatty, you may be more irritable. We clearly see it with other couples, like things transpired after that group outing. So I don't think it's a huge
I
reflection of
just
who she is.
maybe I need to rewatch that scene because I feel like he's just like, yeah, and we're such a great couple, and I feel like things went really well, and oh my, and he's just like hyping them up and talking about how great of a time he had, and she's like, you can't even let me get a word in edgewise. I really
Yeah.
wanted to ask you about something else, and it's just like,
And
okay,
I didn't even notice her trying to get in the conversation.
yeah,
Like,
neither did I.
like she like she wasn't trying to jump in on the breath. Like she was just like sitting there watching it and just like, you just never shut the F up, do you? Basically, it's like, what are you talking? Like, where did this
She
come
didn't hear
from?
a word he said. She
Yeah.
just sees his mouth and it's just a wah
Do you
wah
ever stop
wah.
talking? And then like it was so weird because they then kind of make it into like he's almost her lapdog. She's like, can you get this for me? Can you get that for me? It's almost like he's like waiting on her hand and foot. It was a weird look into their relationship that we hadn't really seen before.
Yeah.
Definitely an odd turn there at the
Yeah.
end.
If we rewind a little bit, their reveal.
Yeah.
She was so concerned about getting the ick because she said once she has the ick, that's a wrap. Like she needs one thing to get the ick, and that's it. But she said, "You're so cute."
I thought it was awkward up until the point where they sat down and gave a little twirl for each other, and then I thought that
Yeah.
kind of lightened the mood. So I was
That
like,
was
okay,
good.
they can be cute and goofy. This is cute.
Yeah.
My note for her on the reveal was like, why does she keep whispering? She's
Yes, she was
whispering
like
the
whispering.
whole time. Like, we can hear you. You have microphones on. Even though you're whispering, we can hear you. It was so weird. It was a weird moment because it just almost seemed like she just started whispering for no apparent. Like maybe she's just nervous. But I think as far as a score, I'll give it a 7.
Me
Like,
too. I'm a 7 too. I'm not copying you. I
oh my gosh,
swear.
we
I was
agree all the time. Look at us,
Yeah.
same level. Mary, you should get on our level.
I was gonna say 7,
this.
so.
Oh, okay.
Were you? No.
Well, I don't know. I'm so afraid. So now I just need to say 7. I don't feel safe on this podcast.
Look at the environment you're creating, Jason.
This toxic workplace on Mara.
I felt like the vibes were good earlier, and then we got to this point in the podcast. It
What is
just
happening? But I mean, they were making out. And what was it that he gave her? His shirt?
Yeah, he gave her a shirt to hold on to after the reveal, like to smell like. I guess word got around that people were giving articles of like of
Yeah.
clothing and blankets that smelled like him, and he was like, "All right, I'm gonna do that too. I'm gonna give her one of my shirts that I wore." I don't know. Like, did you wash it? Like, I don't want to smell your
She said
musk
it
and your
was really
sweat.
sweet, and that she actually liked that even more than the ring. So I thought that was cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just like, it's things are looking good. It's just that there it felt like there had to be a reason that they showed that scene after the group outing.
Try to
And
remember if they had any big like coming attraction
on the next
drama.
time one,
I don't really remember it.
Monica was crying at one point.
He
But
said
that's all I wrote.
He said he did something dumb or he made a bad decision or something like that, and she was crying because of that. So
Yeah.
who knows what?
Oh, Steven, and he's also overwhelmed at one point.
Join the club.
Could be
Steven.
with
Join the club.
I don't know. All right. Anything else on Monica and Steven?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. We have the love triangle that was Marissa, Bohdan, and Ramses.
So
Yeah.
this is what I'll say. from watching the show, I was just like, oh, okay, look at them. They're bonding over nerdy stuff that they like. Marissa and Bohdan, at least, because we see them first. You know, they've got some things in common. They're very Marissa in general, with everyone she was talking to, very lighthearted, very fun, very like, even the breakups or the serious conversations were just very like straightforward and lighthearted. Everything seems pretty good until she tells Bohdan, you know what? Actually, I just want to let you know I loved getting to know you, but I have a stronger connection. He's like, oh, great. So I left it being like, oh, like everything seems fine. I'm going to look and see what what's out there on the internet about these people immediately. So Bohdan, he is known in some circles because there is quite a lot of comments on him in the "Are We Dating the Same Person" Facebook page for DC. Now, a lot of these comments have since been removed once it was revealed that he was on the show, because people keep commenting on them and stuff. But apparently that's a thing. Now, maybe it's a different person, but
I mean, how many Bohdans are there?
Around the internet, it seems like this is the situation. It also seems like it might be that, the whole he was previously married thing, it seems like it might not have been that long ago from what I've been able to find. So basically, maybe Marissa made the right choice pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, oh, I mean, I don't really think either one of these is necessarily a bad choice. They both seem nice. Okay. But yeah,
I mean, we're
so
pros. We're pros in Love is Blind land now. This is hardly the most scandalous thing anyone's ever done. I mean, they've had people that have been like in full-blown relationships, engaged, being on the show. So this isn't like terrible, but honestly, I don't know. The vibe I got from Bohdan was that I feel like that would track for me.
It was okay. The fact that they were so similar to Marissa and she couldn't see them. I think if she saw them, it would have been like, oh, I don't know. I just feel like I feel like she would have been
found on that, Aysha.
I feel like she would have been drawn to one over the other.
Yeah.
Like, I think she would have been way more attracted to Ramses than Bohdan.
Wow.
No?
But
this is Love is Blind.
Who knows what people are attracted to? Yeah, but
True.
I would say that her and Ramses are a very cute couple. So
very adorable together.
Very cute together.
So obviously with the Love is Blind environment, it seemed like it was an impossible decision. But I do like how she ended up explaining it, even to Bohdan, was like there were way more romantic vibes between her and Ramses, which I hadn't even picked up on.
Yeah,
but it was
not
like,
that we saw that. When she said that, at first I was like, I mean, I'm not going to go back and rewatch after she said that, but I was like,
I did.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Well, I was like, oh, maybe it was. But then like when she said it, I was like, well, I guess he was saying like, hi, mi amor, and like getting her things, and like there were definitely like there was effort shown in trying to like show that he cared. Where with Bohdan, it's just like they got along really well. They were open with each other. They had great banter. But if she's thinking like, okay, who could I see myself marrying? It felt like the choice was obvious for her.
Yeah, I think the love triangle of it all was so interesting because we see the other love triangle that we have that we're going to talk about later that had all this drama, had all these like confrontations about who's your number one, who are you dating. I feel like the problem here was that everyone here was just so laid back and easygoing. There was like no drama to be had here, and like you said, like when Marissa breaks it down to Bohdan, it's like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to move on with you. He's like, all right, cool, bro. See you. Have a good one.
And, like, that was great.
Yeah, up until then, we didn't get much on Marissa's thought process. It kind of shocked me when she went in and dumped him because I was like, I had no idea that the decision was this close because we never really talked about it. We never really heard one way or the other where she was leaning. It just was kind of fun vibes every day. You know what it was? Had with each person.
When she found out he was a Cancer Leo. She said,
yeah, see, that's the thing. The way the edit was that he casually mentions that he's a Cancer Leo, which also prop to him for knowing what that is. Because if someone asked me what my moon was, I'd be like, I don't know. I told Kirsten once, and she probably remembers. I don't. But like, it seemed like that really blew her away. She was very excited about that. And then she was like, well, got to go break up with Bodhi because our stars align. And I'm like, and then she said that Ramses was more romantic. And I was like, oh, I think I missed something. I felt like this was just about the signs.
Yeah, I did think it was like, especially with the way that Bohdan reacted to her breaking it off with him. I was like, she made the right choice. Not in that, oh, he's not into her, but I feel like Ramses would have been a little bit more heartbroken.
Well, I mean, going into that breakup conversation, we of course get a confessional from Bodhi. He's like, I think Marissa's really the one. I think it's going to work out really well.
I know.
And then he walks in and gets dumped by Marissa. So maybe they had just different viewpoints on their relationship, I guess.
Right. So I thought, oh my gosh, that I did rewind it and listen to it twice. The letter he wrote her, the line that stuck out, the letter that Ramses wrote to Marissa. He said, I want to tuck you into the spaces between my heartbeats. Oh, Jason, go on. Tell me what you think about those lines.
They're cool, I guess. Like, I mean, the letter went over my head. There were so many.
There were a lot of letters
and poems, and like, I wrote something down for you, and I want to recite it to you right now. It all just kind of went. It's all kind of into a blur for me now. So it's like, I don't remember which letter, which poem that was. I want to say he wrote at least 3 poems when he was in there with her. I don't know. There was so much writing going on in those pods. It's a lot. It was a lot.
A lot of passing notes, a lot of books, a lot of poems, a lot of letters.
I know. I thought that, that letter was just very sweet. And then, it just like, once they were like, it was like, she went all in on him. It just felt like it made sense. And we get their reveal and they were just both smiling. And it was just very sweet. They both seemed very attracted to each other.
So much so he forgot to officially propose. He's like, I'm supposed to give you this ring now.
So this is the one I'll just say, this was my 10 out of 10 only because I just felt like it was like there was no awkward moments. It felt like they just had the same energy the whole time. So I thought it was good.
Yeah, I'll give them an 8.
Stop reading my mind. I was going to give them an 8 too.
Okay, whatever. I'll just be the third wheel. I'm the Bohdan of this podcast. Whatever. Fine.
Hey, I'd rather be a part of this love triangle than the other one. So.
Yeah. I thought it was so interesting too how they would talk about their situation. They were so open and like, I know you and Ramses have a great thing going. So it's like, but the other love triangle, like, I know your other connection is
like they don't have a name.
Yeah, like, I mean, so official and formal. I just like how they talked about it. They were just so transparent and real about it. It's like, I know you like Ramses. Ramses is a cool dude, but like the other love triangles, just so official and formal. Like I can't say their name.
Even to the point of joke, like even when Bohdan joked, he was like, "You have a thing for guys who've been married before."
Yeah.
So it's just like very open. Also, shout out to Marissa. Her birthday is April 3rd, which is a day after mine. So I was already like, okay, this girl is cool in my book.
Okay. Shout out for the birthday.
Right. Shout out to Aries. And so, when they went to Mexico,
they got it all. They got it on the first day, apparently, before the night even transpired.
Was it like right after dinner? Before, it was very quick.
Yeah, they kept going at it too. That was they
didn't get much sleep that night. Yeah. They were ready. So obviously the chemistry is there. I don't like these first initial moments of them together. I don't see any red flags.
Yeah, I think Marissa is so free. I would say that, like, she's so she maybe is a little impulsive. I could see her doing something that would rub Ramses the wrong way, because Ramses does seem like a very sensitive, like, very kind of vulnerable, open soul. That maybe she would do something that rubbed him the wrong way. Maybe the way she might, I could see, because I mean, in the previews we see Marissa talking to Bohdan, so I could see that causing some sort of strife and drama. If Marissa maybe wants to stay friendly with Bohdan, I could see Ramses feeling a way about it. That's the only thing I could really see as a hurdle, but I don't know. I think probably is going to be smooth sailing going on from here.
Yeah, to go back to what Mary said about their directness, I mean, I could see Marissa thinking. So when we see in the preview, she's like, "Would you have proposed to Bohdan?" It's like, well, when y'all were direct before, that was okay, but right now, girl, you are engaged.
Yeah, you a whole ass fiance.
Right? Why are you asking this man this? So I think that'll be interesting to see if that's just like just a quick conversation or if it's going to be something that transpires. But because didn't we see Marissa crying on the wedding day?
Yeah, she gets to the wedding. We know that.
Yeah. So
Yeah, not gonna lie, I didn't watch the coming up because I didn't want to. It's not exactly I didn't want to be spoiled, but I didn't want to read into too much because then I'll just get in my head about it. But
yep. And here I am reading into it.
yeah.
You fell into the trap.
Right. So anything else on, I guess, Marissa and Ramses or the this love triangle?
The only other thing I had on them was that they're the ones. There's usually a couple we get who comes back from the like Mexico party meet and greet where everyone's together and then like ranks the couples. And this was that couple, and they were like, "Yeah, I think we're definitely the best," along with Ashley and Ashley's man,
Tyler.
Thank you. Yes. So
They were going percentages. They were like, Tim and Alex and Garrett like 75%. Like,
yeah. So I feel like that's usually a relatively good sign that they at least get to the wedding from past precedent.
So fingers crossed for them, because I think that they are so adorable, and I would just love to watch them continue to be together on like social media and just admire their relationship from afar. You know,
he's so bubbly and fun. So this is like a couple, Jason, that I would say like, well, I don't think that they would necessarily 100% be completely drama free, but I also feel like they, because she has high enough energy and is like fun and talkative, and I'd include Monica and Steven in this too. Like, I don't think that they're going to be necessarily like just 100% steady, boring couples. I really feel like only the first two were kind of in that category.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I like the opportunity for drama with Marissa and Ramses, because I think Marissa does tell it like it is, and I think Ramses does have kind of like a sensitive soul. I mean, self-professed. So I think there is a opportunity there for him to take something a wrong way or a bad way. So I'll give them the opportunity score for drama there.
There we go. All right. So let's see. The next couple will be. Oh, I gave them their own slide. I forgot about that.
No.
Okay. This trio: Leo, Brittany, and Hannah. Leo is so high on his own supply. If I heard one more thing about being an art dealer, I was just like, man.
Leo is the villain that you write in a movie. Leo is the guy in that movie where the kids don't want their mother to marry a guy like Leo.
Leo
that's what Leo
he's
is.
like in every rom-com, he's like the bad self-absorbed boyfriend that you have before you find the true love. Like that's that. I don't know Leo, but from the show, it's just like, wow, every single thing about him was so
cringy.
Yes. He wanted to have his cake and eat it. He wanted to have his cake and eat it too. He was upset that they didn't basically just let him wait it out until the very end before picking. Like, what is he doing? I just, oh man, I could not last more than one conversation with him, I think, before I would just be like, hey, so it sounds like you're really into yourself. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Listen, Leo is to money like Asia is to Survivor, right? Like, I don't want to talk about it too much, but just in case you didn't know, I'm on Survivor right now. Like, Wednesday's at 8. In case you didn't know, I mean, I don't want to talk about it a lot. I don't want to keep saying That he's on Survivor, but I'm just in case you didn't know, like that's how he was every conversation. Well, I am blessed to have this financial, financial
I
situation I'm
am
in. I don't
very blessed
much about it.
financially.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much.
Hun, you're blessed financially because your family passed away and
In a
left you their
tragic
pieces.
circumstance.
I know. It was like,
Tragically.
this isn't like, I don't even know. Anyway,
It's
at
not a
one
fun
point,
party
someone,
story. Like it's not.
yeah, someone says that Brittany is like would be expensive to date, and he's like, well, I can afford it.
Yeah, I got the money.
I got
At some
money.
point, I don't remember if it was Hannah or Brittany, but at least one of the two of them, maybe both, at some point mentioned something about like his job and how it's oh yeah, you're an art dealer, that's cool, whatever. I don't even really think about it that much. And he's like, I really respect that so much because some people only want to date me because of my money and my
So
did I
happy.
mention I'm an art dealer and and it's like anything that anyone's there, whereas really it was probably Hannah. She's probably just like, yeah, I just kind of like forgot.
Yeah, I think it was Hannah because she wasn't feeding into it the way he wanted her to.
No,
he
like,
was
okay,
he's like, I hope you don't mind, but we're going to need a prenup if we get married. She was like, okay, I don't care about your money, dude. Whatever. I don't really care. But I think Love Is Blind would have been the perfect situation for Leo if he wanted to come in and be different.
Yes.
He wouldn't have to say that he had all this money. No one would be able to see his Rolex that he had to wear in every scene. I think this would have been an opportunity for him to try and find a person like he says he wants to, not based on the fact of who he is and his money. But he just blew right past that. It had to tell everyone that he was super dirty ass rich.
Do you see it in his
Look at
cast
this picture.
photo?
Look at this picture right here.
It's like peeking out and it almost looks a little photoshopped.
Yeah.
Like they wanted to make sure that Rolex was in there.
Did you get the Rolex? Did you get it?
Right? Oh, please put it on there. I forgot. It was too deep in my pocket. No one's gonna know.
This is why someone like Leo would never like me, because I would go on 18 dates with him and I would never once notice the Rolex or have any idea what I would be like,
Mary,
you had a watch on.
He wouldn't let you not notice it. He was like, do you have the time?
Wave that thing in front of my face and I would just be like, oh, he's got a watch on. That's interesting.
You want
to say, oh, look at my Garmin. Ooh, it's got all my steps on it. I mean, what?
I can't read my watch. Can you read what time it is? And
yeah, look, I'll be impressed with your watch when it can have GPS. Thank you very much.
He was okay. Obviously, we know he's obsessed with himself. He also was obsessed with being the decision maker. Like he wanted to be the one to make the decision, and it was so annoying and so transparent.
And like. I have never seen someone on this show fight for someone in the way that he did when Hannah breaks up with him, and poor Hannah who's in a blender this whole time, but like when Hannah breaks up with him and he's like, look, I'm not going to propose to you or tell you that you're the one, but I want you to still keep you on the back burner, Hannah. You're not allowed to break up with me.
Bruh. The man literally threw a temper tantrum in his pod when she tried to break up. He was like, oh my god, like, oh no. He was like flailing all around the pod. He's like, no. And like it was so because he told Brittany the night before or whatever, or that same day, I think, like, hey. It almost sounded like he was leaning toward Brittany. He's like, all right, Brittany, like, listen, just stay with me for a minute. I have to have a final conversation with Hannah, and I'll have, we'll have a great date tonight. I promise you, we'll have a great date. I have to have one final convo with Hannah. He tries to be the quote unquote good guys. I don't want to tell you that I love you until I know I'm ready to be married to you. I don't want to lead you astray. I don't want to lead you along. Leaves that conversation. Brittany, meanwhile, is freaking the F out because rightly so, she doesn't want to be part of this like decision that he has. Like she always want to be the other choice with someone else because as far as we know, it's the day before proposals is happening. He's taking this up to the wire, literally. So she has a problem with being just another choice because he says he loves them both equally. He keeps saying that to them. I love you both exactly the same. That's exactly what people want to hear, that you love someone else exactly the same as them. And so she's forgetting about that. He leaves and decides, I think in this, he does say, I think Hannah's the one. Goes to see Hannah, who breaks the news to him, like, who tells him, I don't want to be another one of your choices. Like, I have someone here in Nick D that wants me for me. And then he just yells the whole time, like, what do you want me to say? You want me to tell you I love you? You want me to tell you I love you? Like, if that's what it takes, I'll tell you I love you. If I knew that this was happening, I would have told you I loved you a long time ago. He's
like, you're gonna pick your husband based on a schedule?
Yeah.
Based on the schedule today? If I talk to you first?
It's like, well, and then she says, well, Leo, he had talked to me first. Would you have proposed? Well, I just thought we were in it. We were going to give it as much time as possible. I thought I was going to get to make this decision at the end after everyone else had left you.
Right. He thought he was the bachelor. And it's like he had his final two. And the final one of his final two said, actually, I want that guy over there. He's like, no.
He's like, how dare you try to break up with me?
Right. Oh, and he made her feel so bad. I just felt, oh my gosh, I hurt for her because she was just like, what is happening? Because it was so shocking that it wasn't even like, how do you react immediately to that and just like stand your ground, show your worth, tell this man off, like, what do you say, Jason? The unmitigated gall.
The unmitigated gall of this man to do what he was doing. Like, and he tried to throw every single trick in the book to get her to, if I asked you today, what would you say? What would you say if I asked you to marry you right now? Like, how can I get you in this marriage right now, today, and leave this room married to me? Like, I was like a used car salesman. Like, what do I have to do or say to get you to marry me right now and to dump Nick D? I don't even know if I really want to marry you. I just want you to say that you want to marry me.
And of course, the way this ends is her being like, that was very overwhelming and you screamed at me and I definitely don't want to be with a guy who does something like that. And then he's like, shoot, I did not handle that well. She is definitely not going to want to be with me. I think I need to reframe this. Like, it was mutual. He even says that when they meet up again, he's like, I'm so glad we both broke up with each other today. Like, that's what we wanted. We wanted to both break up, of course. And I love Brittany, and she has always been my number one, 100%, never wavered.
He said, I actually, and I couldn't believe that this was on there. He's like, I told the producers to cancel our date.
Yeah. She's like, that is not what you told me yesterday. You told me you wanted to see me yesterday. Like, oh, she is catching him so hard.
Why do you remember?
Yeah. And in that really terrible conversation, when he pulled out we're both ENTJs. We could be unstoppable. I'm like, how dare you, sir? How dare you? Pull out what is it called? The Myers-Briggs personality. It's like, he's just throwing everything at the wall to try and make this go his way,
just so he can be the one to pick. And then when he realized, like
wait,
you said,
okay, I'm sorry. It's so funny though, now that that the two love triangles had a situation where major information was about like what their star sign was or their Myers-Briggs, like some arbitrary qualification. That is very funny. One worked out and the other one didn't. Guess which one?
Right. What is your Harry Potter house?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, we're both Ravenclaws. We're gonna work out forever. That's it. I mean, it's like 1 in 4, and everybody identifies with like 3 out of 4 anyway. But like,
I just was beside myself when he was trying to convince her that it was a mutual thing and that Brittany was it all along. I was like, where were you? Like, no, what do you think she's dumb? And like, this is insulting at this point.
He's like, hey, can you just like put in a good word with me for me with Brittany? Like, if you don't mind, just don't tell her anything about this. Too late, buddy. Hannah went and spilled the beans immediately. Like, hey, like, this guy is a tool. Like, you should watch out. Did Brittany listen? No. Brittany in and of herself was a trip. Because like I said, like she was rightly concerned that she was one of two choices the whole time. And she kind of breaks down at one point. And then he turns it around and is like, hey, So like, what kind of wedding ring do you want? You want a big rock, huh? And it works. It
Worked.
worked on her. So she's like, okay, I'm better now. Sorry.
Even the proposal conversation, like this is supposed to be the conversation.
Yes, this is.
She's like,
Oh
I
my
have
gosh.
this long letter. My friends would be like, oh my gosh, who is this girl? Starts to read it. It's like, I was gonna write all this cute stuff and I changed my mind because I
I
am
crossed it
hurt.
out.
It was that thing you see on movies like I wrote a whole 10-page thing and you know what? I'm throwing it out. And then she just folds immediately.
I was like, what did I literally was wondering what I missed because I was just like, how do you go from being so hurt, understanding your worth, and knowing that this guy just had y'all both as like a second option, like he's just playing the game, and then to him proposing in the next breath.
And
Ooh.
she says yes. Honestly, props to him for continuing on and reading her love poem / proposal right after she was just like, I wrote a 2-page
He was like,
paper
yeah,
about how I don't actually like you and I feel
yeah,
bad
yeah,
about what I
whatever.
did.
Okay, listen to this. Listen to this. I don't know what you're
Blah blah
saying, but
blah.
listen to what I have to
Like
say.
my ego could never. If someone did that to me, I'd be like, well, sounds like we're done here. Goodbye. I
Well,
would
this
I would
man,
never be like, okay, well, what if I just like try proposing? Would that like fix things?
this man obviously has no shame whatsoever
Mm-mm.
in any way. Because, the funny thing is, I was watching this with my wife, of course, and she pointed something out to me, which is really interesting to kind of show you who Leo is. When they leave their little dates, you notice who takes their stuff with them to clean up and who doesn't.
Oh.
Leo left all his junk for someone else to clean up. And I think it was a date with Brittany. Brittany took all her trash with
Yeah.
her out of the thing. Leo was just like, someone else take care of it. It's fine. I'm out of
Don't
here.
you know he's an art dealer? He doesn't need to pick up after
I'm
himself.
an art dealer. Little people will take care of it. Trust me.
Right. Oh my, that's such a good thing to notice. I did not notice that, but that's such a it's those little things. Like I'm sure you noticed that right in the NFL, like the players that just like throw their cups on the ground are the ones that actually like,
Yeah.
Dak, there's that famous clip of him throwing it on the ground, like he tossed it and he missed it and he went and picked it up and put it in the trash cuz that's showing how great of a guy Dak is and the Cowboys.
Okay, I'm not even gonna like worry about that because my team just destroyed the Cowboys like last week, so I'm not even gonna trip on that. Anyway, NFL tangent. But can we move to did we have anything else to say about Brittany? Because
I think what it came down to was obviously we get to the reveal, and I think she just was not attracted to him. It felt awkward. She couldn't put the voice with the face. I think she had pictured something so different that it just completely threw her, that he looked completely different. And it was just like, oh, what have I done?
it also gave very creep vibes from Leo. He was all over
Oh,
her.
he was
Like,
so attracted to her.
he's so attractive. He couldn't stop talking about how attractive she was, how hot she is. I would have liked you either way, like no matter what you look like.
Yeah.
But you're so freaking hot. Like you were so gorgeous. And just was the way he was the way he's like grabbing the back of her head as he was like all over her. I was like, this has got to feel just very gross and creepy from Brittany's standpoint. And you can just tell how uncomfortable she was.
Yes,
Like,
I said she
Yeah.
seems so uncomfortable. And it was funny because like he was naming all these things he loves about her. And then he was like, well, what do you love about me? She's like, what's your name again?
I wish I had been prepared for this.
Right?
Darn. Your money, number one.
Right.
So listen, I do think that was something that really attracted Brittany to him. I think that is I think that's true. I think that's number one. But I think when she finally got face to face with him, was like, yeah, this isn't cool. This isn't good. And you know what else really bugged the heck out of me? Everything bugged me about him. But the way he would tell her, like, I bet you people don't think you're smart. Like, I bet you people think you're like
I
basically
know. And
people
she
think you're
wouldn't
a dummy.
respond. Yes.
Like, so many people think you're an idiot, but I know I think you're smart. Like,
I think you're
Yeah.
kind of smart.
like, You wrote a book. Good for you. Oh my gosh, you published a book. Like it
Even just the
was.
thing about her, like him guessing the type of ring she wanted and be like, see, I know you so well. And it's like, you
Yeah,
know what type of jewelry she likes.
gross.
This is an
Right.
So gross.
expensive thing.
Oh, yeah. And if y'all missed the beginning for some reason, we already talked about the Mexico Miami situation
Yeah.
with them. But yeah, anything else about that specifically with
Well,
them?
the only other thing I'll bring up about them, because I feel like we haven't really touched on it, and a lot of times people might think we're being too biased one way or the other. I think that there's definitely a read to her where she says quite a lot about like, I can get any guy I want. I always date these types of guys, et cetera, et cetera. Um, I will say I noticed that a lot of the women though also talked to her about like how sweet she was and how great she was and stuff. So I think there are certainly some things that you say in confessional, uh, you know, to the producers that are sort of trying to be like, yeah, I can get any guy I want. Whereas it's a little more important what the other people around you think of you. We didn't get as much of hearing what the other guys thought of Leo, which might have also colored it a little differently. That might have helped. But yeah, guess maybe we'll find out on TikTok someday what really went down with the two of them.
I know. I don't know if we're done seeing them on the show. Like, you think because they said a few weeks later they broke up that we're not going to see them as the pod squad at all?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Because I mean, they broke up a few weeks later, which would tell you that they could still be part of Pod Squad events. But we usually don't see the people that go on a losers trip be focused on, because there have been other seasons where there have been other engaged couples that weren't
Yeah.
featured. We never really focused on that aspect of it. So I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like there can't be a moment where we don't see Leo seeing Hannah. I feel like that is something that needs to happen on this season.
Yeah, we need that reaction. It can't just
Yeah,
be, oh, I can't remember which season that was, but they just like saw their other option on Instagram and
right.
we didn't really get that response or the reaction.
Something I forgot to ask you guys about, but there was in the official cast reveal, there were 15 women and 14 men that were revealed.
Yes.
29, not the usual 30. What do you think happened with that 15th guy? Like,
Yeah, I've seen a lot of speculation. I think either they had something, I mean, being in the DC area, maybe they agreed to go on the show and then later, for whatever reason, found out that due to like, security clearances or something with their job, couldn't or wanted to back out or whatever. That's like one option. Another option is they found something out, negative about
exactly.
them, decided them to edit them out of the show. It's also an option. Um, Maybe they just really couldn't find that 15th person. I mean, it doesn't really matter when they know that like everyone's going to be dating everyone anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
that's weird.
Right, because you're never gonna have 15 couples could come out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Leo, what a character. I don't maybe if we don't see them on the rest of the season, I feel like we'll definitely see them at the reunion.
Yeah.
So Hannah, who Leo was interested in, who I never felt that like for the longest I had the least notes on Hannah and Leo. That's why I was like, there's no way they're the ones that work out. Like I just felt like there wasn't a lot of substance there. But yeah, Mary, you said Hannah went through a blender with breaking up with Nick for Leo. Then like, oops, I made a mistake. Let me get Nick back. Oh, and then Nick was this player, but then he was all in on Hannah.
If you didn't know anything about the cast, you closed your eyes, you just listened to the episodes, and they don't talk about ages, I think it would have been very obvious who the youngest people in the cast were.
Do you think I was talking to my wife about this? Do you think that we should have a love is senseless? And you just heard on the speakers in the pods like roll, 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 roll. And they would have like the modified computer voice, so you couldn't tell. Like it'd be hard for you to tell ethnicity. It'd be hard for you to tell.
Isn't that just the masked lover or whatever?
Yeah,
Like
that'd be awesome. Like love is senseless. I think that would make a lot of. I think that'd be really fun. Like no, I
I
can't get
think
any support.
I like that idea. It doesn't even have to be the wrong. It could be like a cross with the circle. Like,
Mhm.
all text. It's been done. The circle does it well.
It has, but I don't think there would be any success in that. I mean, when you're on the dating apps, yeah, you can talk all you want. It's not until you meet in person and at least can hear them, there's so much difference. I don't think that would be successful. That's just like, hey, we're doing the worst part of dating apps, but on the show.
On TV.
Yeah, like no, this would be so bad. It works for a social strategy game, but ooh.
That's
Well,
fair.
Mary, you always have to disagree with me, so there we go.
She
Am
has
I
a
making you
point.
feel safe and protected on this podcast?
I thought I was safe saying my ideas, but you just knocked me down. You just make me put my guards back up. See?
Nick was someone who he was also very high on himself, he played in the XFL and the CFL, and he's just like, yeah, I grew up playing football, and he was coming across as a smooth talker to all the women. But I
Yeah,
think
basically they were all saying like, "Hi, Mr. Gamer," like something like that.
It was like who was the guy in the UK that was like everyone thought was a very suave and stuff, and then kind of wrote him off quickly on the UK season that just happened.
Sam?
yeah.
Is his name Sam?
Yeah, was his name Sam? But anyway, it was sort of a similar situation, except the way at least I read it was that Nick was not, it wasn't exactly like Leo where he was really high on himself. It was more like it's like the move of like I'm going to put my best picture on my dating app. It's like I'm going to try and like he wasn't lying. He was a football player, like it's not his fault Hannah doesn't know what position is what. But I feel like it seemed more like he's trying to like kind of pump himself up
Yeah, I mean,
rather than be like, this is, I really, because he wasn't saying like, oh, I feel like I can get anyone or whatever. It seems like more he was the kind of person who doesn't realize that like the cheesy lines are very transparent.
I think that's all it was.
Yeah.
because the girls, all the women were calling him Mr. Suave. Like, I think a lot of his pickup lines weren't working. It's like,
Yeah.
Asia, your name sounds like the continent of Asia.
But it didn't seem like he was like, oh, I've got this list of these are the moves that work really well, and like this is how to win chicks. No, it seemed more like he was just like, oh, this is like a
This is
nice
what you're supposed
sexy
to
thing to
do.
say. This is what you're supposed to do. Yeah, it came across a lot more naive than anything else.
It's
But
maybe a little corny,
Yeah.
like it just wasn't working that well for him. Like
Right.
you could tell he was trying too hard. I think would be probably what a lot of the women's attitudes were towards Nick.
Yeah.
What do y'all think about him thinking he's a less buff version of Henry Cavill?
Sir, not since Megan Fox have we had such
I know. I'm like, I need that same energy that Megan. Well, what's her name?
We need to bring back realistic. Don't be saying I'm gonna pick like a really, really, really attractive actor. Sell yourself a little. Like for example, I've gotten compared to one person in my entire life. I don't personally see it, not in a negative or positive way. I just don't really think I look like them. But this is like the kind of standard we. I look like Pam from The Office. Not even like Jenna Fisher. I look like Pam from The Office. And like that's the kind of vibe that we need to be putting out there. Okay.
It's giving paper cup and receptionist.
Yes.
I mostly
it's giving I might wear glasses. Is my hair like poofy because I brushed it too much? Like, yes, that's what you need to go with.
When I was younger, mostly, I haven't in my adult years, I've never gotten this, but when I was younger, I would always get Kyla Pratt. I looked like I was Kyla Pratt's sister. Not that people thought I was Kyla Pratt, but it was like if Kyla Pratt had a sister, I would look like her.
Okay.
It was a very specific.
Oh. If Kyla, you look a little bit like Kyla Pratt.
It's like so specific. Jason, what do you get?
You get anyone?
I have never had anyone tell me I look like any celebrity. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I'm trying to think now. I feel
well,
like I
you
have
think you
something.
sound like Obama.
I've been told I sound like Obama. I've been told I sound like Seth Rogen. Like I've been told a lot of different
things. And you look like an exact cross between Obama and Seth Rogen. That's crazy. No,
that is wild. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that's the thing. It's like with me. Like I don't feel like I really look like I've never seen a celebrity. I'm like, oh, I look like them.
Yeah.
So. I don't
Listen, in
know.
the YouTube comments, tell me what you think I look, who you
Yes.
think I look like. Please be kind. Please be
That's
nice.
all I want to see in the YouTube comments is what celebrity Jason looks
It's
like.
about me.
Right. Um, yeah, I could tell, like, to go back to your earlier point, I could tell Nick was just kind of saying what he thought that Hannah would want to hear, even when he's like, I can't wait to see what bikinis you wear on the getaway.
Yeah.
It's like, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Hannah is our insecure queen of the season. Like we always have to kind of have one that's obsessed with uh maybe being jealous or what their partner might think what they look like. Was Hannah's role this season.
Yeah, it's tough too because it's like she's so torn. Because, okay, she is our youngest of the season, right? At 26. 26
Mhm.
is not that young. But if you're comparing against all these people that are in their 30s, someone that if you're dating someone that is 26 and you're like 35, y'all are like probably in different stages of what you're looking for. So it's kind of like Hannah may be looking for something fun but serious, like fun but can turn serious, which is why I think she connected with Nick compared to everybody else. Leo's just an outlier, but it was interesting because it was just like I felt like she was settling for Nick because it was like, what about this connection was like, this is it? In comparison to what we've seen to other couples.
I mean, I feel like Hannah liked the reassurance from him that he was giving her. Like
Yeah.
she liked the words of affirmation, the positive feedback. Like unlike Leo, who was so wishy-washy and keeping everyone at bay, Nick was all in on Hannah. So that's kind of hard to not feel comfortable about.
And I think the question also is, was Nick all in on Hannah because that was his only option? Like,
Well, I mean, I think that, but that, to be fair, like that's like most people on not just the show, but like in dating. Like if you meet someone and like you shouldn't always just look for the next best thing.
That's what our society does.
Well, we shouldn't, It's like if
We
you find
shouldn't.
someone that you like and like they seem nice enough and they like you, like what more do you want than just like a cool person to hang out with who likes you?
That's all we're all looking for.
Yeah.
um, Hannah is very honest with him, I guess, that she thinks he'll like break her heart.
This is another like of the really direct kind of things. Like she was always very direct with him, told him, she was even open. I think she was open with him. She was definitely open with the women about like, are these just lines? Like everyone else is saying that you're acting a certain way. That she has a gut. I mean, she literally breaks up with him.
yeah. I mean,
Right.
and I like that she does open up about the fact that she, the way he was talking about seeing her in a bikini and all that, how that made
Mhm.
her feel and how that made her like that triggered her, insecurities. I like how she was directed in that manner too, and kind of opened his eyes a little bit, I think, as to sometimes your comments are not received well at all. Like you think about what you're
Yeah.
saying and who you're saying it to before you say it, my guy. But so I think that was very eye opening for him. I thought it was like a lot more insight into who she was for him.
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, it was like, okay, this is inevitable that she was going to choose him. And when he proposes, he's like, I can't wait to spend my life with your beautiful ass. It's like,
Oh, there were a lot of things in his proposal that I was just like, you know what, good for them. But if someone proposed to me and in the proposal included the line, "I'm so effing in love with you," no thanks, I'm out. That's a Nick for me.
with that, I'm out. Yeah, it's so yeah, he proposes and then he's like, this is the last time I'm getting on one knee. And then and then the narrator goes, that was not the last time you kissed me. Because it's just like I don't see I just don't. I want to be optimistic for all six couples. Trust me, I do. I really do. But I just don't see it. Even from this point, like the proposal, it seems like, okay, well, I guess I'll go with him because he said I love you first, and she said it back. It wasn't like the other way around. And so we get to their reveal, and you know, it's funny because it's like, okay, they're kissing and stuff, and he says she's so beautiful, and she's the one that's like, he wasn't very
Mm.
honest about how he looked.
I did think it was very interesting where it's, she was so concerned about looks, how he would feel about her when they met. And then she's the one that's very critical. And there was also a moment, during the pod phase where we get I forgot what his name was because he is not actually featured in the show, but some guy was talking to Leo and was like, yeah, I told her I was 5'8", and she said she's 5'9", so she dumped me for being 5'8". Now, whether or not she dumped him for being 5'8" or not, we don't really know.
Yeah.
He sounded a little like jaded when he's like, she dumped me for being 5'8". Well, it could also because you kind of suck personally. I don't know. But, so that tells us like she has some sort of also eye towards looks. That was interesting. And like you said, when they came out, she's like, oh, you said you were a football player.
Right.
Yes. Well, he did say he was a punter / kicker. And if you
Yes.
know things about the football world, the punters and kickers are the smaller people on the field. There's a lot of punters and kickers are still like 6 feet, but some of them are also in the 5'8" and 5'9". So that tells you Hannah doesn't know much about her,
Right. I mean, it's
football
just
IQ.
like if the roles were reversed and she's like, yeah, I'm like a Division I volleyball player. I'm the libero. And he's like, oh, she's a volleyball player. But everybody knows. Well, if you know, I guess Jason by your face.
The libero, what the hell?
They're usually like, because they're the one like they're like usually the ones that set the ball, and so they're usually like the smaller, like or shorter on the team.
Oh yes, setting the ball. I'm very familiar with that.
See, you would have been in the same shape as her with football. Like volleyball player, she's gonna be so tall. So
do we also think that Nick was trying to be a little deceptive in what he was saying?
I just
saying you're like a less athletic Henry Cavill is a little okay. Also a little deceptive.
I think he's just that confident in himself.
I mean, again, he didn't lie.
I mean, listen, she said that he said he was a medium to big build, which I guess that is subjective. Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I would say he seemed very, very like average sized. I don't know, maybe average leaning smallish. I don't know. He wasn't like tiny.
But she even said it herself that he was smaller than her. Just like overall build.
They said that a couple times, and then also mentioned that she was taller than him. But I'm like, but she's taller than him in heels. So
bro,
like,
you're wearing like 6. You're wearing 6 inch heels.
The heels
like,
off. Let me see what your height is without the heels. I don't know.
It did look very weird when they came and met each other, and they were looking eye to eye.
Like, I like surround myself with like a lot of people, a lot of couples who are all like varying different sizes. Sometimes the man and woman are the same height. Sometimes one's like way taller, or shorter, or bigger, or smaller. Listen, like it's just kind of
tall is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
I will never forget when I met Aysha. She told me that I was very tall.
How tall are you again?
5'10".
That's pretty tall.
You give tall like you don't. Okay, you don't give as tall as you are. Like it's a little jarring because
I forgot what that means.
Not okay. In the same way that for those of y'all who listen to Rob as a podcast, you may be familiar with Chappelle. If you have ever met Chappelle in person, he is giant. Tall. And it's just like, I didn't know Chappelle was like past 6 foot.
Jason, I feel like when I met you, I distinctly really remember thinking you seemed very tall.
What is this?
Look, we're 4'4", 5'4", 5'5".
Yeah, we're short. Like everyone's very tall.
I mean, you've met other people in the world, and you know what is tall and what is not.
So like you seem pretty tall, and then you meet someone who's like 6'3", and you're like, wow, they're like, I mean, that's like really, really tall. But that's like exceptional tall. So when people are like looking for a man in finance 6'5", I'm like 6'5". But what do I need, a foot on me? Oh my goodness.
So
Aysha, there ain't no heels that are gonna get me to that height.
Aysha, are you saying I give Short King energy?
You don't give Short King energy. No, I didn't expect to be looking at you eye to eye. Okay. There are some people in life you do expect that. You don't give that at all. But I was thinking like, Oh, and easy. I don't know. Now that it's so hard to think back now that I've met you in person. It's hard to imagine what but like I didn't think like, oh, when I saw you, I was gonna be like looking up.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's hard for me to be in the same room as Chappelle and Matt Scott, and to think that I could be described as tall as well. So I mean, it is all in the eye of the beholder what tall is.
True, but all that to say, that's not what Nick is, and apparently, according to Hannah, so what would y'all rate the reveal? I'd say proud of 5.
I'd probably say a 3. Because
Oh.
I was like, it was very awkward. Like, and you can also tell, like, when the doors close back, and you get the woman being like look at the ring box, like, what have I done?
Well,
like,
that's my fiance.
Yeah. Okay. Just try to
Yes,
remind yourself how you felt.
guess
Right.
I've done it now. And that's we didn't even rate Brittany and Leo. I'd give them like a 2.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, they were like a 1 or a 2.
A
I would say
1,
this
yeah.
was like this was like a 3.
That was worst case scenario for him.
Yeah.
So they do go to Mexico, and their biggest point of controversy was like, just I feel like he was very blunt a lot of the times without any regard to how it was going to come out to her. So like even like she was joking, I'm sure. Would you ever get my name tattooed? He's like, F no.
Hell no.
Yeah. Like, and then asking, oh, so like, you know, in the women's quarters, like, was I a hot commodity? What? Why are you asking that?
He's like, I can't wait to see all the beautiful women. I mean, you know what I mean, though.
Not in that way.
What?
Just like, what? And then he's like, in order to ask, has she gotten any work done? He's like, your lips aren't like done up.
Bro, like what? Like, and he's
and
like,
he's like, would you? And she's like, no. He's like, yeah.
Yeah,
Totally
I like natural women. I love
beauty.
natural. Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
It's like, but if I had
Natural is way to
but
go.
if I had the money though, would you
Right.
like
what would you get done?
I would be
Not
like,
to say-
okay, tell me what's wrong with me. What work do you want me to get done? Huh?
Yeah.
That's what
Right.
it sounds
He's
like
like,
you're
oh,
going through.
I have a list.
I've got a
Because-
10 bullet point list. I'll just
Yes.
leave it out for you to find.
I got a red
Right.
marker. I'm ready to mark on you whenever you're
Oh
ready.
my
What you need
Oh
to get
my
done.
gosh.
But
It was just such a weird question.
They just had a series of awkward interactions in that whole like getaway retreat.
Yeah.
It was very weird. And then of course, Duckgate, that we got.
She already said she already said she would get the ick if he went and wrote it. Okay, strike 1. He goes and does it anyway. He doesn't care if she's gonna get the ick. He does not understand the severity of an ick from a woman. It is hard to come back from that. And he goes and does it anyway. But on top of that, invites the older woman who doesn't look older. So it's like it invites a woman to come over and ride with him, and they're just do this. We're gonna race, da da da. And Jason, your face. It was unnecessary. It was overkill.
I was mostly Team Nick on this one, unfortunately.
Not surprised.
How dare you? So first of all, she's like, I'm gonna get. She said it in such a like joking manner, like I'm gonna get the ick if you ride that duck. That's something I'd be like, oh yeah, well watch this. I just would have done it to be fun and playful, which I thought was what he was doing. Like you wouldn't really get the ick if I rode a freaking fake duck. And then to have the woman be like, hey, can I come ride the duck with you? Well, it's just like, no, get away. I'm with my girlfriend. like I don't feel like it was out. I don't feel like he did anything that was that out of bounds.
It was overly friendly.
I think the only thing that I'll actually say was completely out of, or not, I don't know how I'd say out of bounds, but I'd say if you are trying to not upset your new fiance, is when the woman says like, oh, she's jealous. I feel like you could have at least jokingly been like, hey, we just got engaged or something. You don't need to go then hug the woman.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say. I will say I
I
think there was nothing. I agree about the ick thing, but I think there was nothing wrong with someone being a little playful and like I completely get it. I've dated guys before where they'll be like, "Oh, like you're so cringy in public because you will like talk to the employees at a store or whatever." It's like whatever the thing is that people don't like. It's like
write that down, folks. Mary, you will not be allowed to talk to store employees if you.
So I guess, or whatever it is. I just like I literally dated a guy once who was like, he would not watch Impractical Jokers with me because of the secondhand embarrassment. And I'm just
Practical
like,
Jokers is a top 5 TV show. Thank you
it's
very
like,
much.
it's not, I'm
It's
not
funny.
doing Impractical Jokers. I just want to watch the show. No, can't. And so like, I get when some people really have an ick about a certain thing and whatever. I get that. But like, sometimes you just want to be playful. And I don't think there was anything wrong about him going to do that, but he wasn't impressing her. So
Yeah, I don't know. Yes, obviously it wasn't like he was being unfaithful by embracing this woman. Not saying that by any means. It just felt like unnecessary. It just felt unnecessary in the moment, with them already not being like they're not great.
I think he probably thought they were great in that moment.
Maybe.
yeah.
I felt like she overreacted to that whole situation. Was my feeling, especially afterwards.
I mean, well, we do see signs of that when we get the next time on. She said, I taught you everything you know. I turned you from a boy into a man.
That is crazy. That is nuts. You've known this man for less than 2 weeks and you taught him how to be a man from a boy. Get out of here. But can we also talk about the bullet point list
Yes, let's do that.
that she came up with off of the Duckgate incident?
Okay, but like she intended to leave this out, right? Like she wanted him to find it.
1000%.
The most aggressive passive aggressiveness you could really ever come up with.
Yeah, so she leaves out a note that includes things such as questioning his maturity, dedication, being confident versus cocky. Is he delusional? Do actions speak louder than words? Does he have respect for her? Does he have social awareness?
Oh boy.
Like, who's actively leaving a pros and cons list out in the room that you're sharing with the subject of the pros and cons list?
Crazy.
She did that on purpose. There's no way she didn't.
What blew my mind was the fact that she did it and then was just like owned it, and not owned it sounds weird when I say it. Like she seemed fine with him at the guys and girls meetup situation. And then just like oh yeah we could talk about you want to talk about the list. It wasn't like, oh, it wasn't serious, it wasn't ashamed, it wasn't like, oh no, you found the list. It was more just like, oh yeah I left I agree, I think we should talk about this.
Let's dig out the trash and talk about it. Like, oh.
And then when they talked about it, he said he's not the only one that's delusional.
Listen, I'm not gonna say he was wrong, I'm not gonna say he was right, but they both are quite something. I'll say that.
I think they both have the capability to be very petty with each other.
Yeah.
Which I think they will. I think they'll continue to be the couple that is like, there will be drama.
It's a huge crash and burn couple. This is like,
yeah,
the writing is on the wall.
All right. So last but not least, we have Alex and Tim.
I'm curious to know why the big finish is Alex and Tim.
Mostly just at the end of the drop, I'd say.
Yeah, they're the only couple that's on the rocks. But I'm curious. Okay, I'm curious about your opinion of them, because this was a couple that I was referring to in that I'm optimistic about 4 of the 6.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't be including Nick and Hannah and Tim and Alex.
Yeah,
and not just from the last scene.
Yes, I agree. I think particularly everything starting with meeting in person went massively downhill, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. We get very little of them in the pods. Almost everything we get about them is about his family and his sisters who both passed away, and a lot of very sweet stuff about how he wants to, his wife will be also being able to give his parents another daughter, a lot of sweet stuff like that. He gives her a bracelet. I feel like I have almost nothing about her in the pods. Yeah. Like pretty much nothing. They paint pictures for each other. They chit chat some. He reads a letter to her father asking for her hand in marriage and then proposes to her. I actually thought their reveal was pretty sweet. They seemed a little nervous. But then, and he was one of the only people who like, they don't just part in the middle. He walks her to
He
her
walked her all the
door.
way.
Like, I
Yeah.
thought that was actually really sweet. But yeah, I think that the second that they went to Mexico, I feel like the vibes were really odd between the two of them.
My problem, or like my concern with this couple was, I feel like it started in the pods because, like I said earlier, when we were talking about or when we were talking about Tyler and Ashley,
Mm-hmm.
was Tim seems like the type of guy that it doesn't take a special someone to open up.
Right.
I think that is his MO, is like he is opening up. He is like, that is his like natural tendency in like getting to know someone. And I think it in this environment, to Alex, it seems like it could have seemed like this is so deep and so deeply personal to him. And this is like, I'm so touched that like he's giving me his sister's bracelet. He's telling me these things. It's like, oh, I'm the recipient of all this. But it wasn't like they were equally sharing. Of course, we're missing so much about their connection and their conversations. But it just seemed like if there were like something substantial on her end that made him grow to start doing that, then we would have seen it. But other than, it was just like, okay, does she like him because he's being open with her?
It almost felt like he was really bombarding her with emotion and with like these deeply personal stories. It kind of felt like, okay, like you said, Asia, do I really love this man, or am I just like, am I appreciative he's so open that I'm willing to
Yes.
do this? Like, I don't know what it was, because he from jump was very like in it. He was giving her all these, like, to give her a bracelet that his sister that passed away bought for his other sister that passed away is huge. Like, it's almost kind of like a love bombing situation. It was like, you're throwing so much at me. I just feel like I have no choice but to keep going with this thing because you're being very real and open with me, and I feel like that's something I want. But am I looking past that to the actual person? Like, would I like this person, this actual person?
Right. And I'm not saying, and I'm also not saying, I want to make it clear that I'm not saying that he's doing this with ill intent. Leo
Right, yeah.
does this with ill intent.
Right.
Tim, I feel like this is something that he does because he's feel like that's his connection point, right? Is to just be as open as possible. Like, that's how he's connecting.
Yeah, this isn't a shtick. This isn't a game.
Yeah, like, I feel like this is just him, but I think the concern was like, the concern on my end is like, is she seeing, okay, I'm recognizing that he's doing this, but what about him am I drawn to specifically? Right. Not about his story and what his family has gone through, which is, yes, definitely traumatic. But it's like, okay, when it's the day to day and we're just enjoying each other. I know they both, when they did the painting, like they both drew a bee, right? And so it was like, oh, they're on the same page. But it was just like, we lacked that like friendly banter, like the get along.
We didn't even see like what the conversation was of why they drew a bee.
Yeah, why they drew.
Well, it's one of their last names. So they talked about birds and bees.
Oh, right.
His name is Bird, or her name is Bird, and his name is Bee something. So that's why the birds and bees thing. But yeah, we didn't see them connect on really much of anything because the conversation was really dominated a lot by his story and things he's gone through. But we didn't really get that, like, how else are you compatible?
Right.
And do the vibes match? Which I think is where we run into the problem when we meet in person. The vibes don't match at all.
No.
Yeah. It felt like he was very like, I don't know, sort of one of those kind of like talkative, bubbly, sensitive kind of people. And then she was very like dry sense of humor, kind of like.
Well, that's really focused around the dog of it all.
Yeah, what was
going on with that? I don't know what was happening. I feel like I missed something again. It was like I skipped ahead and it was like, why are we barking? Why is she mad about it? Why is he still doing it?
I literally rewatched it because I was just like, okay, where did this start? Obviously it had to start in the pods, but it's like, where did this start to where it's annoying to her and he's like doing it even though he knows it's annoying to her?
I think he thinks that she is jokingly annoyed, but she is real life annoyed. Like, she doesn't like when you do this, bro. But I think I think the whole dog thing is like, what did he say? Like, I used to be a dog. And then he would also say, I got that dog in me. Like, you hear that sometimes from people. And then he would go, and then he was talking about his dog.
Okay, that's the confusion I had, because I'm like, okay, I thought he was saying he had that dog in him, right?
He did say that.
Yeah, but
And then he was talking about his actual physical dog.
But then he was talking about his actual dog. I was like, wait.
I was like, I don't know what we're talking about anymore.
She just had enough of the word dog. She's like, I don't care what context dog is in anymore. I've heard so much of the word dog. I don't want to hear it anymore about any type of dog.
And then he's barking.
Woo, woo. Yeah, I got a dog in me. Like,
right. Then I was like, okay, are we missing something? Like, is that his fraternity? Like, was it something beyond what we are aware of? It had to be, because I was way too confused.
I feel like he was commenting a little bit on his past to say that he was a dog, like he was a bad guy, kind of.
Yeah.
I feel like he said it in 3 different contexts, which is what is
way
confusing.
Too many contexts.
Yeah, and I think at least 3 separate occasions we had her being like, "That's enough with the dog." And he's like,
right,
and he's like, "Oh yeah, enough with the dog, right?" Right? Doesn't say no. Really, I'm about to break up with you if you say dog one more time. And he kept pushing it, and that's just an instance of where they're not on the same wavelength, they're not on the same vibe,
right? Because I do have a note from the pods where he said he's a dog and he needs someone to bite back.
Right, yeah, and that's like that's one of those I got that dog in me type of things. That's right. That's what that is.
Well, their reveal felt very like.
What if I was in a pod and I was just like, I'm a kitten and I need someone to scratch back? Ew, stop. Why is this? When did we colloquially decide that dog is a positive thing? It's like, no, so you're acting like a dog. Like, that's usually go sleep in the doghouse. Like, that's not.
Mary, dog has been around for over 20 years.
Right. I'm saying we should get rid of it. Come up with a new animal.
Where my dogs at?
Yeah.
Who let the dogs out?
Yeah, I know.
Shout out to my dogs.
Shout out the dogs at the crib.
Yeah, shout out to my dogs at the crib. Yeah,
no, exactly. I feel like we need what's the new like? Yeah, I'm an owl. Stay up all night.
You start that, and I bet it'll take off.
Listen, we'll run with it, Mary. We'll run with it. I got no problem.
Mary is an owl, y'all.
Yeah, she got that owl. She got that owl in her, y'all. She got that owl in her.
Watch me hoot.
Hoot, hoot. We'll support you, Mary. We'll support you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, see, now I'm feeling safe and loved and protected on this podcast.
Wow, how things
come full circle. We just need to chat for 2 hours and then things get good. I'm like Hannah with Nick. First we broke up and now we're back together.
Right.
I'm glad you didn't cancel our podcast. I'm glad you rescheduled our podcast date.
Well, okay, the reveal. How would y'all rate it? I think I'd get
like a 4.
Yeah, I was at a 5.
5. Yeah.
Okay.
She was so nervous. She couldn't stop touching her hair. Like my wife said, she paid a lot for that hair. Let her touch it as much as she wants to.
So when they go to Mexico, she said like one of the things that gets on her nerves is like repeating herself, and one of the things that gets on his nerves is arguing. So I was like, this feels like a reason that we are
this feels like an incompatibility.
Because she's like, what I'm not about to do is say that one more time. He's like, what I'm not about to do is argue.
You told me you're never going to argue. That's like right. Okay, buddy. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Doing that.
You're like, welcome to marriage.
Right. Exactly.
This is another dog reference where he was like, "That's my dog," and she's like, "You got one more time to say that." That's when I knew she was really annoyed. Like I thought she was annoyed, and I was like, "Okay, she's really annoyed by this." And I just felt like there was no chemistry. She didn't like his fashion sense, and
she wasn't hiding the fact that there was no chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
She came across very like, it's almost like standoffish in every conversation. She was kind of like honestly, the best conversation was when he was in the hot seat, which was really cute little segment they did. And he was just talking about how great she was, and the girls were hyping her up. Like that was a cute moment, but that was kind of the only time where it seemed like they were vibing.
Yeah. And in case you're listening to this and you didn't watch the episodes, yes, they did get together as a group in Mexico on their getaway. No, there was no drama.
No
so
drama.
therefore,
Zero.
None
it was all
whatsoever.
cordial and
We
we're having a
love
great time.
everyone. Everyone loves everyone. That gross.
It's like the most drama came from the post group hangout. So with
Yes,
them,
which of course we didn't even see the inciting incident.
I know
Gross.
how do we miss this? How did we drop the ball and miss this conversation? Because the worst thing about the worst thing about confrontations on Love is Blind is when we have to hear them retell it. Because we're
AKA
missing so much.
all of season 2.
Because like him saying like, so I already knew it was awkward when all we saw was her sitting on the couch. I said, oh, something went down. There's
And then-
quiet.
Oh,
and then
when
the
it's
knock on the door.
Yeah, the knock on the
Yes.
door. It's like, oh, they weren't in the same room. Okay.
And
Yikes.
so it just was so awkward. It's obviously tension. And so we just find out they got into a huge argument. And so it's just like, okay, what was said? He said he doesn't like being called out of his name. We find out she put her hand over his mouth in the middle of the
Ugh.
conversation.
She was talking. She was like, I'll admit, when I put my hand over your mouth, that was probably crossing a line. It's like,
oh,
yeah,
When-
yeah. I would hope you would understand that was.
When I held your tongue mid-sentence, I knew that I had gone.
When I
When
shoved
I put
the
you in a
blow
head-
pop into your mouth so you couldn't speak, that was probably not a good move.
when I put you in a headlock, we probably went a smidge too far.
Yeah.
When I took the duct tape out and put that over your lips.
When I took
Well,
when
look,
I took
listen,
Garrett's
Garrett-
duct tape.
Garrett and Taylor are all for that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I was just like, the way she casually said that was
So I'm saying it's like a weird
this was
ownership.
out of
It's
hand.
so odd.
I called you a piece of shit. That probably wasn't what I should have done. Probably wasn't the best light.
Apparently he told her speak.
Oh, boy.
Because he's like,
Listen,
you
man,
can't-
I'm not your dog, okay? Don't tell me to speak.
he
I don't
said
got
he
that
can't
dog in me.
he can't listen and speak at the same time. So that's why she kept interrupting him. So he told her, just go ahead and speak. He also said his love language is listening. And I myself was like, okay, wait, quality time, acts of service, gifts. I don't recall listening being one of, but it, that's not.
That's the
he was-
that's the unofficial.
That's what
the
people say,
unofficial
like,
6.
It's what people say, like, my spirit animal is a dictionary. And I'm like, it's not an animal. It's like, okay.
My love language is watching reality TV.
Hmm.
Yeah, but the way he was so checked out in this conversation,
Ooh.
the staring off into space, and she's like, she's trying to smooth this over. She's like, come closer. He's like, I would rather not. And then she
said, "Well,
comes
shoot, I'ma
closer.
come closer. Yeah.
Like, no, like that is the problem here. Like, we are on two opposite wavelengths. I don't want you near me, yet you started to come closer to me. No. And the way he was just deadpanning into just like nowhere was like, he's just done.
He said
Yeah.
he came into that conversation thinking it was the last conversation they were ever going to have.
Surprised
He-
he even came in.
Yes. It's like,
Whoa.
oh, he came to break up with her and she is still saying, no, I'm still in love with you. I'm so sorry. Like, we
Because
may
listen,
have different definitions of disrespect, but we can work this out.
But I think the thing is, like, this is how they're two very different people.
Yes.
Tim is not about this argument, fight life. This seems like Alex is like, this is like, I'm gonna blow up tonight, but tomorrow will be fine. Like,
Yeah.
it just seems like that's how she approaches fights and arguments. And Tim is not about that life whatsoever.
She
Like,
seemed way
ever.
too casual that this happened, that
Yeah.
it was like, okay, maybe
It's happened
like,
a lot.
yeah, like, and so I think because we do get a little bit on them on the next time on, I think this may be a wake up call. Like, oh shoot, okay, any of the past ways or behavior I had in past relationship, that's not gonna fly with Tim. I need
I can't handle disagreement the way that I handled it.
that I have in the past. Yes, because
Yeah.
Tim is different. So maybe this is just a wake up call for her, and it's like, okay, they'll be fine moving
Yeah, but
forward.
sometimes you don't get a wake up call. Sometimes that wake up call rings and rings and rings, and you never pick it up. So who knows
I
if she
think
will
it seemed
adjust
like
accordingly.
he was shocked that she was fighting for this with the way
Mhm.
that things transpired yesterday. Because he's thinking, like, there's no way the way you were talking recklessly yesterday, you still want to be with me.
She's like, that? I do that all the time. You don't
Like, that's the
understand.
kind of thing. It's like she is telling you what you're in for. Like, ain't
Mm,
nobody gonna change. In like, it's like
right.
I think that now, and nothing about the conversation they had there made me think like, oh, now they're on the same wavelength.
Yeah,
I just
they
can't believe
just
this is
agreed
the
to
whole thing.
disagree.
Listen, baby, my love language is fighting. And if you want to be with me, you're going to have to get
Get
used
with
to
it.
it. Mm.
Yeah. So that's why I put Alex and Tim last, because I just felt like that was interesting
I mean, but they literally gave us nothing until the very,
until
very
that.
end. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was our last couple. We did it.
So I have to bring something up.
Oh.
Else,
I'm not
which
feeling safe. I'm not feeling safe.
this is just about some cast members that we did not see at all. I mean, maybe they were in the background, but whatever. Um, this is something that a lot of people pre the show airing were speculating was going to be a big deal and clearly amounted in nothing because we saw none of them. There were two sisters cast on this season.
Oh.
What?
Yep. Tara and Nina, or Tara and Nina. You can go to their Instagrams and see they've both like posted their cast photo. They are sisters, as far as I can tell, or cousins maybe, but like probably sisters. Same last name and everything, tagged in a lot of each other's photos. Clearly, they were hoping that like these two girls would like date the same person, or there would be some kind of drama. That clearly nothing happened. No idea. Also, not that I wouldn't do this, but like they don't know what kind of edit they're going to get on the show or lack thereof at the moment. But like, can you imagine being on a show, having your like cast photo release, posting it on Instagram, and then not being on the show at all? It's just sad.
Well, that's why I don't know why they keep giving us 30 people to look at in
Yeah.
these pre-season press, because we're not gonna meet 80% of these people.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like one of these days I am going to go back to the first episode of season 1 because I swear that we like at least had the first episode be like a whole bunch of montages where you get to see everyone for more than just like
Yeah,
a
I mean,
1
all
second
you have to
clip.
do is watch through the end, and it's going to take you back to season 1, episode 1
Yeah.
of Love is Blind every time. Netflix loves to do
Yeah,
that.
no, I X
I
out of it quicker than that.
I did appreciate kind of in the Brittany and Leo situation that we got a whole relationship that we saw go from beginning to
Mhm.
end, and just kind of crumble. I really wish they would kind of fake us out a little bit and make us think that this relationship is going to work, and then right before the reveal, like they break up or something. I wish we could follow a couple that we don't follow to Mexico just to get an interesting story that we're not necessarily following for the whole season.
I like this, and I wish we had it every season. I wish we had the like documentary style end cap where it's like the black background and the white text that comes up and says like, Nina and Tara were sisters and they met no one. They are now successful business people in the DC area. Here's their Instagram in case you'd like to date them.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, even if if they got engaged and they were just like, and like they said in the case of Brittany and Leo, like, hey, we decided not to follow them, but just know that they worked out or they didn't work out. Like,
Yeah.
just another story not involved that we're not going to have to follow the whole season. I think it'll be interesting to see more of the Pod Squad and their interactions.
Yeah, because when they reappear, like obviously we got some names in the pods. I'm like, we're just gonna see them in episode 7 when the Pod Squad gets together, because we don't know this person at all.
Yeah.
So that was it.
That was
did
drop
it.
1.
I know. Drop 1. We will be covering the remaining drops. I believe it's episodes 7 through 9, then 10 through 11, and then 12. Something like that.
A reunion.
Yeah. So make sure you go subscribe to the Love at First Sight feed, and you won't miss it when we have our podcasts that come out. Definitely let us know what you think, whether you leave us a 5-star rating or review on the Love at First Sight feed, or if you're watching us on YouTube, definitely leave us a comment and let us know how you enjoyed it and thumbs up the video. We really appreciate it. Jason, what are you up to? Where can people keep up with you?
Got quite a few things rolling right now. I have my other podcasts, one of my other podcasts, The Good Pod, where me and Marissa Garza talk about the good universe of shows, including The Good Wife, The Good Fight, and Elsbeth, which is coming back pretty soon for season 2. Also, check me and Asia out in a couple weeks. We'll be talking about Married at First Sight again, season
What?
18. Oh, yeah, okay, like you
Are
didn't.
we?
Season 18 is finally here. So I got a lot on my plate coming up. So check me out in all those places. And at Twitter, you can find me at JAYR1085.
Jason, that's news to me.
I hope you show up. I hope I'm not in a podcast studio by myself.
You just show up and you're like, well, the premiere.
This is a solo podcast now.
Right? People would listen, I think. So, Mary, what are you up to? Where can people keep up with you?
You can follow me everywhere at Frail Mary, and mostly doing Big Brother coverage. I'll be on the, or I have been on, depending on when this comes out, Roundtable, as well as check out this week's Slop podcast, because there's just like, might be like just like a cameo from like a, who knows who you're gonna find on the Slop. If you know, you know. Check that out for all the patrons out there. Everyone in the comments, let us know who Jason's celebrity doppelganger is,
please.
Asia, what about you? Where can everyone follow you?
Everyone can follow me at Asia Like Asia. That's AYSHA like ASIA on all social media. So that's Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. And yeah, watch CBS on Wednesdays, 8, 7 Central. All right. Well, thank y'all so much for sticking with us. And hope you, leave us your thoughts, whether it's on Twitter or wherever, about this drop. I think it'll be very interesting to see if they have like some polarizing opinions one way or another. But yeah, we'll be back next week to talk about the next drop. And until then, we'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.